Hyatt, Mr. Olansky,
Here.
Mrs. Mendez,
Here.
Dr. Miskowitz,
I have to tell my son get his right.
Mrs. Seward, and Mr. Cohen.
Here. Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening on our August 26th board meeting. Just want to draw everyone's attention to a few things in our agenda to get started. One, the meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, according to the Sunshine Law. We will be videotaping our meeting today, and there will be that'll be available for public viewing. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. We will have public comments twice this evening, as we do in all of our board meetings. If you haven't signed up, please do so to speak. You can sign up for either the first or the second round of public comments. And then finally, since we are on school grounds, our policy is obviously very firm on no smoking or vaping on school grounds. And with that, let me ask if everyone will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to our first meeting in September, when we actually have our students back and they get to sort of do the Pledge of Allegiance for us. I think that was great. Before we get started, I do want to also take a moment of recognition, and then I'll ask for a moment of silence. It was brought to our attention that the district lost a longstanding employee of the district this past summer, and I think it would be helpful if I just sort of read a little bit about this person, and then we take a moment of silence. So I'm in the process. I would like to recognize Jane Bragg, who died on July 2nd, 2025. Ms. Bragg was born in Morristown. She was a graduate of high school there in 1956, but she spent the majority of her home here in Marlboro. She passed unexpectedly just a few days prior to her birthday. She loved life, and her physical health was a challenge over recent years, but her mind, of course, always remained sharp. She exemplified life in service. She gave selflessly to her family, her friends, and her community. She was a charter member of the Marlboro First Aid and Rescue Squad that was established back in 1971, a police dispatcher in the 1970s, and in the early 1980s, a lifelong educator. After graduating from Rutgers, she took on a young student teacher position here in Marlboro, and she paid back that chance to Marlboro as an educator for over 50 years. She was always trying to bring to the latest technology in education. As a reading specialist to the township, she impacted countless lives, and she retired from Dugan Elementary, and she loved the Dugan Dragons. She was known for her heart and her love of reading and her love for cats. And while she passed most recently, she left some family behind, and their hearts are obviously very heavy with her loss. So with that, I would like to sort of just say thank you, Ms. Bragg, for your lifelong service to education and to this township and to Marlboro and to what you have done. I know you must have touched many, many lives, and you know, those people will forever remember you, and this district and this town will be forever thankful for what you did. With that, I'd like to just take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our agenda. Let me suggest that we start with item number 1, which is announcements. Mr. Ballone, you have some announcements to make?
I do. I have a few announcements. Good evening, everyone. The first announcement I have is regarding our beginning of year forms that were signed by our parents. We made that available on August 11th. The reason we do that so early is we provide ample time for parents to review the forms. That was feedback we had taken some years ago, where traditionally the forms were released the day schedules were made available. And we received some feedback hearing from the community and saying, nobody reads the forms, we race through it because all we want to see is our teacher, right, our child's teacher. So we took that feedback and we gave almost 2 weeks advance notice for parents before schedules went live. With respect to those forms, I did receive just a few questions from community members, also from some board members regarding the grade 2 health curriculum. And following that, as a clarifier, my office went out to all grade 2 parents with a clarification letter, just to provide some additional information on some questions that just a few community members did have, and some board members had as well. So by way of illustration, I'll just hit on some of the highlights from that clarification letter that went out, just so everyone can be on the same page and understand the factual information around the new grade 2 opt-in, opt-out procedure. So one question that came from the community and or some board members was, why did we add a new form to grade 2 for this year? And the reason we did that was last year we went through an accountability process from the county that happens generally every 3 years. It's called QSAC, Quality Single Accountability Continuum, and QSAC is the acronym for that. School districts in New Jersey have a 3-year cycle with QSAC. And what was brought to our attention by the county at that time, last year, around February, was that there was a standard in the 2nd grade health curriculum related to personal hygiene, right? It's really about personal hygiene. The standard is to define basic body parts, including the genitals. Again, it's, this is part of hygiene, right? It doesn't fall under reproduction or sexual education per se. This is all about hygiene. Let me kind of set the stage. So in 2020, the standards were readopted. They were revised at the state level. And if you recall, here in 2022, those standards were adopted here at MTPS because that's the year that they were required to be rolled out across public school districts in New Jersey. So while they're the 2020 standards, it usually takes a few years for the Department of Ed to allow school districts to work on curriculum and get up to speed. And in this case, we had 2 years to do it, and we did. So that leads to the second question that came from that came my way. What is the history behind the 2020 standards? So that is the history, and we do know, going back to 2022, if you recall, if you were watching board meetings at the time, attending board meetings at the time, or a board member at the time, that there was a lot of attention around those standards. And there were some sensitive standards that we identified as a district that we determined it would be beneficial for our community to opt in or opt out of those standards. Now, we all know here that we do have an excusal from program policy, and I don't think our entire community knows of that policy, and I can assure you they probably don't. So what we decided to do was to put those sensitive standards up front and center and share with the community, these are the sensitive standards that we've identified. When you're signing your beginning of your documentation, you can opt in or opt out. This 2nd grade standard at the time, and when I say at the time, this was under not under this board. This was in 2022, as I mentioned before. So the board at the time adopted the curriculum guides with those call them new standards, the 2020 standards. So all of the curriculum guides were updated. At the time, the board in 2022 devised a really innovative plan, which I believe was innovative and catered to both sides of our community, and provided the opt-in, opt-out provisions at the time. This second grade standard was not included at that time because it was decided. We actually interpreted this standard so I'm going to read the standard again. Define basic body parts, including the genitals. Our interpretation was, if we're going to mention the genitals, we'll use the proper terms, but we decided not to use the genitals. So we included body parts like elbows, knees, hands. Again, remember, this is about personal hygiene, right? Washing your hands. So we actually did not discuss genitals at all. In fact, you can see that in the curriculum guide. Back in 2022, I did a pretty extensive description about what our curriculum guides look like, but I'll summarize that here for you. You have the first two columns. The left column and the middle column is state language, right? So that is not our language. That's just the state language, including the standards. On the right side, it says classroom applications. That's what it actually looks like in our Marlboro classrooms. In 2022, body parts were the ones I just mentioned without the genitals. In 2025, today, you'll see the same thing. However, during our accountability process, we were told you have to at least give parents the option to have their kids learn about the genitals and the correct terms for those two body parts. So while we were meeting, I worked with the county superintendent and our assistant superintendent here, and we said, okay, so what makes sense is to employ the same exact process that we employed back in 2022 for the other sensitive standards. And I said to him, would that suffice? And he said, sure, that would suffice. And of course, it's in alignment with our excusal from program policy. And not only that, it actually provides a greater degree of parental rights, because those who want it taught can have it taught, and those who don't want it taught will not have it taught. In fact, we take it a step further. By default, it will not be taught. So you have to tell us if you want it taught, and that's okay. We currently stand at about a 65% opt-in and a 35% opt-out. So I looked at those numbers at 3 o'clock today. Most of our parents have filled out the forms. Let's assume a parent doesn't fill out the form by the first day of school, which is hard to believe because the child won't know where to go to the classroom. But that will be an indication for us to say, oh, you don't know who your teacher is, your parent must not have filled out the form. That will prompt a phone call home, and then we'll, assuming it's a second grade parent, we'll say, you need to make sure that you look at this standard and opt in or opt out. So I'm sure by the beginning of the school year, or the first day of school next week for students, which is September 4th, that all of our forms will be filled out. And if they're not, a phone call will be made home to make sure that parents are in the know. So it doesn't typically happen, like I said, because especially at the middle school level, students want to know who all of their teachers are. Our younger students, maybe if it's a first child coming through, the parent isn't quite sure of how to do that, we will walk them through that process. We will ensure that every single parent reviews those forms, understands what they're reviewing, and so we can move on with instruction for their children. One other question, did the curriculum change? Well, I just told you it didn't, right? The curriculum did not change. The curriculum is the same curriculum that the board in 2022 approved for those new standards. Again, not this board, 2022. What does the opt-in lesson look like? It's a 27-second video with very basic definitions of the genitals and our parents were able to view it. Some of our parents may want to use that at home, still opt out in school, but use it at home as a talking point for their child. Some parents say, thank you for doing this, because I would rather have a licensed comprehensive health and phys ed teacher talk about this with my child. Some parents say, I don't want you saying this at all. And we cater to all of those wants and wishes. This is kind of a redundant question, but was the standard taught previously in grade 2? Well, the standard was, but not including the genitals, right? So, and that was the feedback we received from the county, who said, okay, you have to at least provide the option to teach it. What does the instruction actually look like in the classroom? So I told you it's a 27-second video. This is not our first rodeo in terms of having students opt in and opt out. We also have many students being pulled for various things in a classroom. Our teachers are adept at differentiated instruction. This is no different. This is a differentiation of instruction. If you're an opt-in, it looks like a 27-second video with headphones on. The reason we have a video is because we control the message, right? That was a big, back in 2022, that was a concern. What if the teachers inadvertently say something that they shouldn't say? Well, we said, well, we'll control that. And our teachers appreciate that, right? Because they don't want to do the wrong thing. They want to make sure they're providing accurate instruction and consistent instruction across the district. So we've provided videos for all of those sensitive standards. Students will not be ushered out of the room if they opt out, right? Oh, you're the opt-out kids. You stand over here or go to the corner of the room. It will not look like that. It will be a seamless differentiation like our teachers do all the time. It'll just be differentiated for this content. So that's all I have for the grade 2, the new opt-in, opt-out for grade 2. Moving along, well, I guess, does anyone have any questions regarding that?
I do. I have several questions. For the opt-in, opt-out, follow-up questions from the 6 and 7-year-olds that'll be viewing this video, how is that going to be handled in the classroom?
So for the opt-in students, you're saying?
For all, if everybody's sitting in a classroom, some kids viewed this video, they find out where a baby came out of, they want to ask more questions. How are they doing that?
So the lesson is the 27-second video. Just like we do for any of our other sensitive standards, if they're asking additional questions, those questions will not be discussed in the public setting with all of the students in the classroom, just like we do for the other ones. If you have a question, hold that question. Our teachers are very good at this. Let's talk about that later. That's not part of my lesson right now. Phone call home to the parents, engaging the parents with, this further question was asked. We're not going to be exposing that content to the greater classroom because there are students in that classroom who have potentially opted out. So we're not going to have that discussion. The headphones will be on for the 27-second video. If there are additional follow-up questions, the teacher can handle that outside of the public eye of the classroom and engage the parents at that point.
So the child will just be left with the questions for the remainder of the day until the parent can be contacted?
We could suppose a lot of things, right? It hasn't happened yet. When it happens, our health and PE teachers are, again, this is not new content for them. They're used to doing this, so they can deal with it in the moment. I can't tell you exactly what that may or may not look like. We could play the what if game. What if this happens? What if that happens? But in the moment, our teachers are, just like any other teacher, right? I was an English teacher. Kids ask me what some parents might think are inappropriate questions while we're reading, right? Reading texts. We, as teachers, right? We have one out in the audience laughing, right? It happens, right? It happens all the time. We, teachers, know how to deal with that. And we We don't make a spectacle in front of the others. It could be a pull aside, pull out into the classroom. If you have a co-teacher in your room, maybe you get some help from the co-teacher. Ultimately, we do engage our families 100% of the time. So if there's something a little that needs a little more attention, we engage our families. And our teachers know that our families are engaged.
Okay, so going back to the process, I know we had communicated that there's no official report from the county superintendent. So when this standard was reviewed again, an accountability assessment would result in some type of report. That was never given. There's no written report about putting the standard back in from the county
So I've
superintendent.
answered that multiple times.
Yes, to me, but I'm
To
just.
you, yes.
Right.
And to the board, I think. There has been no official report given by the county to date.
Okay.
I am told it is forthcoming. So we have nothing in writing from the state. It was conversations during the meeting and subsequent conversations, but I have nothing in writing, no report, no letter saying that we were out of compliance. But I know it's coming.
Sure. So just to follow up, I was very engaged in 2020 all the way through 2022. When that standard, when we decided, well, when the board at that time had decided to not include this education in the second grade, but instead begin on these more sensitive vocabulary and topics in the fifth grade, there was open discussion at the board meeting, which I was at, as well as a coffee chat and community conversation to make sure that everybody was kind of accounted for. Parents had an opportunity to weigh in. I don't ever remember as a board member hearing about this until it popped up on social media, and I was just wondering why the difference in communication. I would think that if you're introducing this because it was not taught prior, that this would have been a discussion that our community could have weighed in on. A coffee chat would have been an excellent forum to kind of get the understanding of the parents in this district. So the fact that this was kind of put back in without any discussion, can we elaborate on why there was no discussion at a meeting, discussion amongst the board, discussion from the curriculum committee at a review, any kind of thing from the communications committee, allowing parents to know that this was actually chosen to be put back into our lesson plan for the second grade?
Okay, I think it's very important that we pick our words wisely here. Nothing was put back in. So the curriculum has not changed. The standard has not changed. It has been in our curriculum guide since 2022, again, under a different board.
The
So
lesson,
nothing was put
I said
back
the
in.
The lesson that's being taught is different because it now includes a video that was not there before.
Yeah, could I just ask a question
Sure.
based on what
Okay.
you're saying?
Yeah.
I just, before.
Well,
before
it's piggybacking off of
I know, but
hers.
I just
Oh,
want to make sure
yeah, go
that
ahead.
that Mr. Bologna is done with responding.
Oh, yeah, I was going to
First
ask
the question.
on top of
I
that
know he said
question.
nothing was put back in.
But it was put back in. We're saying that it was put back into a lesson. So my second grader last year did not have this. I have two other children that were in second grade. They did not have this. Hypothetically speaking, if I have a second grader now, this is now there. It was not there prior. So the curriculum did not change, but how we as a district are implementing the standard in the curriculum absolutely has changed, because now this lesson plan will be there. The video will be there. The video was not there prior, but it is there now.
That is accurate. The only students who will receive that information are those who actually tell us they want it. So let's just assume that you either didn't answer your form or you maybe skipped the question, which wouldn't allow you to see your teacher, but the only students who will actually receive this 27-second video are those who say, "Can I please have it?"
Can I add to what you were saying, Mr. Bologna?
Yeah, I'm
No, I just want to add to his point. I think the survey that was sent is testament to what parents want. The discussions that we're talking about, they answered by completing the survey, and 65% overwhelmingly opted in for it. So I feel that
What survey are we talking
well,
about?
not survey, sorry, the
The opt-in
opt-in,
or
opt-out.
opt-out.
That to me is also, I'm just saying that suffices and that kind of supports that 65% of the parents wanted their children to learn about this, and they didn't have an option from 2022 to 2024. That to me is, not kind of impacting parental rights. And for me as a parent, if I want to opt my child in, what the board has done now, what the administration has done now, it gives me that opportunity.
And I'll emphasize, it really was a process that we've already had in place, right? This was a process that was already in place, and we just, like we ask our students to do, hey, let's apply this somewhere else. We applied that process to another standard, and I'll say that we did provide advance notice. We went out on August 11th. Now, if some people might say, well, parents don't read those documents. Well, I'm not sure what I can do about that, right? I can't force people to read and understand what they're opting into, but I have to think we have a very involved parent community. Those who are opting in know what they're opting into. I would understand if we didn't provide the opt-in, opt-out, and we just started teaching that content without telling anyone. I would understand that, right? But first of all, we're not defaulting by teaching the content. We're not. So let's pretend that, not even pretend. Let's say that only those who are opting in will get the content. The default is they don't get the content. So nothing has really changed with the exception of providing greater parental rights for those who actually want it. And there are those who want it. There's 65% in this case who want it. So, and those numbers, you could say, well, the majority of the people want it, so it's the right thing to do. I'm not sure I would classify it as that. I would just say you've given both sides 100% control. Back in 2022, and even last year and the year before, we didn't give parents 100% control. We actually opted those 65% who said they want it, we opted them out last year.
So
Yep,
back in-
absolutely.
Can I just ask
wanna-
a quick
Ms. Mendez
question?
wanted to say
Can I just
something, so
respond
before
to
we
my
ask another
question?
question, I just want to give her a chance to ask her question.
Thank you. I just had
Thank you.
Don't
just
say-
two. The first one was, I did send an email, so thank you for responding. And Mrs. Gross, thank you. I copied Mr. Cohen and Dr. Miskowitz as the curriculum chair, just because I felt like that was the right thing to do, and it was helpful. I did have questions, and you did confirm that nothing changed for the other grades, so I appreciate that. The other thing, though, that I think where I'm still getting lost, and I apologize for that, is in the fact that the curriculum didn't change, but there's something different. So can you explain, you mean that this was there, but it wasn't being taught, it was already in the lesson, is what you're saying? I just want to make sure I'm saying the right thing in my head.
So that's partially correct. It's nuanced, right? So nothing changed in the standard. We are not allowed to change the standard, right? If we start changing words in state standards, that's a problem. So we can't do that. The language, the standard I read, was in the curriculum guides in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, in perpetuity. They haven't changed, right? They still haven't changed. What changed was we are now giving parents the ability to opt in to having their children exposed to the correct terms for the genitals, male and female.
Because it wasn't there, it's there, but it wasn't being taught, is what you're saying. I just want to make sure I'm saying that
Correct.
correctly.
It's there. It's written, but it was last year and the years prior, up to 2022. We just we didn't include genitals. We included other body parts, and at the time, our interpretation was, if we're going to talk about the genitals, we will use the correct anatomical parts, but we are not going to. As a district, we decided not to talk about genitals at all. we were told we can't do that, we had a misinterpretation of the standard. Okay, that's what CUSAC is for, right? CUSAC is there. It's an accountability process to make sure we are upholding the state standards, and in this case, in instruction and practice. Mr. Caravello has a section for finance, right? We have a personnel section. So this is the accountability process. When somebody comes in and says, you need to tweak this a little bit, you're not doing it 100% correctly, it is our duty to fix it. Now, that doesn't mean that we acquiesce to the Department of Ed and say, oh, you're right, we have to do this. No. I and my team, we think creatively, and we say, how could we meet your accountability standards, but also meet the needs of our community? And that's exactly what we did here. We employed a process that is tried and true in this school district since 2022.
Can I just ask one thing then, or make one
Go ahead.
general thing of where I then just,
You're next.
I didn't express this in my email. This is my second piece, and then I'll stop with my question for now. First of all, as a parent, full transparency of somebody who opted both children in this district for all their years. So I think that was my choice, and I appreciate that choice. I would just say for me, where I struggled a bit with the content itself was the fact that we gave, and I don't want to get vulgar here or stated, but in one instance we said one was for urinating and the other was for childbirth. And I think the childbirth piece at that age, that tender age of second grade, to me felt a little young. Whether whoever created that standard, it's my own personal opinion, that's
Yeah.
all I'm stating. It felt a little young. The maturity level. If one is for urinating, the other one childbirth opens a whole slew of questions. However those are answered, I can't say. So my own personal opinion was it felt a little young for that age group. That's all.
And as a parent, if you
Right,
had a
and
second
you can
grader,
say, "I
you
don't
could
wanna
say,
do it." I understand.
I am opting out of that because
Right.
I personally believe that it's too young, and I respect that.
Right.
And I understand it. And it really,
I'll stop.
you know, when we're running the school district, and I think I've said this before, it really doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what any of us think individually. We are in a public school district, and our job is to drive right down the middle. And I feel like we've achieved that with this process. You know, one side can say, I want it, and the other side can say, I don't want it. We've given that. There are many school districts here who just don't give that option. They give the option through our policy, our excusable program policy, which in some cases feels hidden or, you know, if you're not really astute, right, you don't really know. Yeah, there's a process, but we're not going to tell you about it. We're telling everyone about it right up front.
Danielle?
Yeah, so I guess my question really was not answered, and maybe it's more for Mr. Cohen. I have young children, and I know that if you teach a couple 6- and 7-year-olds something, it's not isolated to those couple 6- and 7-year-olds. I also do believe that teaching 6- and 7-year-olds something and then saying we can't talk about it any further, especially something profound like where a baby comes out of, is not beneficial. But following on that, I believe that these are conversations, much like 2020 through 2022, that should have been a discussion that was brought forth by the curriculum committee. So again, I'm just going to ask the question, what changed that this was not a discussion? Why didn't we hear about this from our curriculum chair, that this was being discussed? We had the ability to carry out not defining those body parts for almost 5 years. So what changed that we didn't have a coffee chat, that we didn't bring it to the board discussion, that we didn't get a report from curriculum, and that we found out on social media that this form was now popping up on second graders? Because I'll speak personally and say I've had well within dozens of parents reach out for further clarification to me personally. So if that's happening, shouldn't this have been something that met the same process as was done in 2022? Because in 2022, the board that represented the community met with our community and decided that this was a standard that shouldn't be taught, or not a standard, a lesson that shouldn't be taught to 6 and 7-year-olds. But in 2025, someone somewhere, and it wasn't from the county superintendent in an official report that said you have to do this, we've made that clear, but somehow, somewhere, a decision was made to bring this lesson back to our young children, but there was no discussion, there was no transparency. It just popped up in Genesis on a form. Parents watch the board meetings, they go to community events, they want to talk. I was at that coffee chat. There was a lot of people there. I was there as a parent. Why did the process change that we did not hear a committee report from curriculum that this was being reviewed? Why did we not discuss it in new business? Why did we not discuss it here as a board? What changed in the process, and why was it, for lack of better words, hidden until it popped up on a Genesis form? You can choose whatever you want for your child. However, we should know that this was happening before it popped up on a Genesis form, which I will tell you, a lot of parents had a lot of questions about what does it mean. So can you explain why that process was differentiated from 2022 to now 2025, where we didn't discuss it at all? And in 2022, we had months of discussion around how we were going to implement these standards.
Well, two things I cannot talk about. One is I can't talk about 2022. I wasn't on the board then. And quite frankly, I didn't follow it the way you may have followed it back in 2022. Two is I'm not a member of the curriculum committee, so I can't speak to what the curriculum committee did in 2022 and what the curriculum committee knew prior to the last board meeting or this board meeting to be able to report out. And I do not agree with your use of words in the words of hidden, because I don't know that something was hidden, all right? I think Mr. Ballone has been very forthcoming. Ms. Gross was very forthcoming in her information that she shared, in which they talked about the need to provide the form. There was nothing hidden. They went out there when questions were raised, in which they sort of responded to them and gave truthful and open answers. So I don't agree with that couching of the process. What I will say is that from my point of view, all right, when I look at 2022 and 2025, from what I've learned in this conversation and through my questions to Mr. Malone as well, 2022, we adopted, this board, a board, some of you were on it, adopted standards that were new. You adopted curriculum that was new. You adopted an opt-in, opt-out process that was new. There was a lot of new things going on in this district back in 2022, in which, quite frankly, extensive conversation is right. No one disagrees with that. Extensive conversation and parent understanding and community outreach was the right thing to do. Nothing changed in the curriculum this year. Nothing changed in the process of opting in and out for health standards, except for in the second grade. Nothing changed in the guidelines. They were all there. So the only thing I see changed is that the board was asked, or not the board, the district was asked to comply with the state standard, and Mr. Ballone, in his role as superintendent, and Ms. Gross in her role as an assistant superintendent, worked to address that standard as they were required. That's all I see. That's my viewpoint. That's where I sit, all right? And, you know, as far as, you know, the information I've heard, that's where unless something comes out that shows me otherwise, that's my understanding at this point in time.
So in 2022, we had a board that prioritized transparency, and in 2025, we made the change without the board doing anything?
That is your interpretation of it. I don't agree with that. In 2022, we had a board that one can say did not reflect or did not respect parental rights in the context of second graders. All right, Mr. Ballone made that point very clear. Everyone has a different viewpoint. The fact of the matter is that's your viewpoint. and others have different viewpoints.
Understood. There's no need to get upset. I'm just trying to understand why this was made by our superintendent and assistant superintendent instead of by our board, because curriculum and lesson plans and what was being taught was a decision of the board in 2022 with the input of the community, and in 2025, we're hearing it was just implemented. And then after the fact, we got communication from our assistant superintendent.
You're entitled to ask the question. I think I've answered it. I think Mr. Malone has answered it. I'm not sure whether or not there's any other answer that we can give you that will satisfy that question.
So this was a decision of Mr. Balone and the assistant superintendent and not of the board.
Yes, I think that's been stated over and over again.
I
So then
think
why have
just,
a curriculum committee?
yeah, I think what would have been helpful, and I understand what you're saying about the changes in 22. We did have coffee chats and all of the things to talk about the change. I think what would be helpful in the future is maybe just, I understand that the agendas are out there for the board members and what's discussed in each of the committee meetings. I think if there's a topic that could be deemed sensitive, now again, that could be, right, what's sensitive to you may not be sensitive to me. Maybe if we could just make sure that we share that communication. Now, it's in the agenda. I know that, I think somebody kept the agenda because I understand that this information was on the agenda, I believe in your August meeting for the curriculum committee, not shared out to the board, but it is there for us, but I don't check the agendas every single week. So I guess it would have been helpful to me, at least, if I kind of knew that the sensitive topic was coming, only because then now if people reached out, they were deferred to Mr. Balone. So that's, I understand you had asked for that. I would just say that that would have been helpful because I didn't know at the time. I didn't have a second grader. I didn't sign off on it, so I didn't know. So I didn't know where to direct people. So then you had told us direct them to you, and I did. But I guess for me, wish I kind of knew, so I knew what was coming. That's all. But
Agreed. And if it was in the agenda for the curriculum committee, that means it was discussed by the board members who make up the curriculum committee. So by and large, this was a decision that was made with the input of the curriculum committee, which is the entire point of
yeah,
the culmination of the
right.
point that
I
was
don't
just
know
making.
what they discussed.
So-
I just
You-
saw a
No,
note somewhere.
I read Mrs. Gross's email that said there was conversation around this. So I just was wondering why that was conveniently left out of the committee report at the board meeting.
You got to put your microphones on so people can hear, please.
Sorry, so you said you saw it in the August. Yeah, because it wasn't discussed. It was discussed after all the, some things on social media and whatever, and the issues that we're seeing now. That's what we talked about. It was literally, I think, last week. So there was nothing hidden. No one's hiding anything.
Yeah, I didn't look at July's. I
Yeah,
only
but
saw
you can
August.
you can look all the way back. There's nothing.
Can I just add a couple of more
Thank you
things?
for that clarification.
I just want to say just a few comments. So for the kids that have opted in and having follow-up questions, I think when parents opted their children in, they're fully aware of how their child is, right? So they know if they're going to have follow-up questions or not. Knowing that there potentially could be a follow-up question, they still opted them in. That's number one. So for anyone else that has opted out, they don't have to worry about that. Second, I'm hearing that there was a lot of discussion around 2022 about, opting in, opting out. The way I look at it, if 65% of parents opted in, then did we not listen to the parents back in 2022? I mean, I just can't imagine that number being much lower. I'm pretty sure it was probably at 65, if not higher. So that board at the time decided to not listen to the majority of the parents that wanted to opt their kids in and took that away. So that is, to me, a pretty big violation of parental rights. That's that's the first thing. And then, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. I just want to emphasize again, I think what the administration did is fair, because I think that as a parent, whether I want to opt in or opt out, I should have that option, and you have made that possible. And again, I can't stress it enough that 65% that's a pretty overwhelming number, right? That's a significantly high number of parents that have opted in for this to be taught to their second graders. So I don't see any challenges with that. And I think it's a very, it's a happy medium where parents that don't want their kids to learn about it, they can simply, they've already been opted out. So I think it's a very good option. I think that the administration has done a really good job. So thank you so much for doing that and giving parents the right to choose.
I just want to say we don't have the numbers, so we can't just, I guess, kind of say in 22, we feel that it would have been this. We don't have those numbers handy. If we had them, that'd be fine. I would just say that I don't want to put an assumption out there. Well, I'm assuming 65% because we don't know. We don't know the climate at that point in time. We don't have that. Now, if we have it handy, that's fine. I'm just saying we can't assume it. But we do have the data for 25, and I get that point. I would only ask you this one question too. Prior to the board in 22 with the opt-in and opt-out, what was the option before that? What were they doing?
Utilizing the policy. But remember, the standards prior to 2020 were not, I'll call them, as sensitive as they are now.
Right.
So it was really the genesis of all of this was the new standards, which was the 2020 standards, but they were implemented in 2022.
Correct.
Prior to that, you did have your somewhat sensitive standards. A lot of them were up at the middle school level and high school, right, which doesn't apply to our students. And parents would opt out using the excusal from program
Correct.
Policy.
Right. So the board in 22 gave parents the right to opt in or opt out instead of referring potentially to a policy they didn't know. Families actually had that opportunity. So it wasn't a violation of their rights. It was actually giving them the right to decide what was best for their child and making it an easy way for them to choose that option as opposed to referring to a policy. Not saying the policy wasn't always there and right, just we know a lot of people don't read the policy. So the board in 22 gave them that option.
My last question will the data be available for us to review as a board for the second grade opt-in and opt-out, and will it be broken out by schools?
When you say the data for the opt-in, opt-outs?
Yeah, that you're getting the percentages that you're giving.
Sure.
Is that
It exists.
available, and can it be broken out by grade for the board to review for further
Yes, it can.
decision-making? Thank you.
Mr. Lolansky.
So I'm going to thank you again for the opt-in and automatic default for the opt-out. I kind of understand from the viewpoint of the curriculum didn't change and this being an operation thing of the day-to-day where it was an administration decision between you and Morgan and your team. I get all that, and I kind of see that's a day-to-day thing as a curriculum. There was nothing for the board to vote on, unless attorney tells me different. I don't think there was anything for the board to vote on. And I see him shaking his head now. So, but again, like other board members have said, I got phone calls too. So hindsight being 2020, something of this nature would have been nice in the green notes. And I understand from hearing Jenna now that it wasn't discussed after in communications. That's what you just said a few minutes ago, right? So I don't know that Sue could have reported to it or not, because it happened between two board meetings, right? Okay. So, but hindsight being 2020, something of this nature, even though it's not a votable board thing, would have been nice that we heard before the public. That's my
Can I ask a question, Mr. Malone? I think, was it 2 years ago or a year ago? I was just asking Val right now. There was a survey sent out to parents, right, to like learn, there was like a webinar that was sent home for them to kind of go, do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
I asked if she was referring to the webinar that was 2 years ago, I guess, that the curriculum committee had put in place, but I don't know about the survey.
But that survey, do you offhand have the numbers of how many people wanted that taught in school versus at home?
So it wouldn't exist for grade 2, right, because we didn't
Yeah, yeah.
have it for grade 2. So we would have to look at the other grade levels. I'm sure we could go back and look at those years. You know, we use Genesis. So we do have historical data there, but I think we're comparing apples and oranges
that's right. Okay, I
because
just didn't realize
it didn't
that's how-
exist in grade 2,
Okay.
right? I could give you the middle school opt-in, opt-out, but that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
So
Never mind. Thank you.
I just want to clarify as well. In an email that was sent out, it was forwarded after by Mrs. Seward, who's not here. I wish she was. It very clearly stated that the curriculum committee did in fact know about this. She forwarded it to the rest of the board who did not know about it. But that was sent out about a week prior to the Genesis coming out. And in the email, it referenced the discussions that have been had regarding this topic. So I'm a little cloudy on what Jenna means by when she says we didn't know about it, because a week prior to this coming out, there was an email sent that we all have, that was sent to just the curriculum committee, and then after we began asking questions, was then forwarded to the remainder of the board after this form was out. So that email goes, is completely against what you're saying, that you didn't know until after the fact, because we're all in possession of the email from Mrs. Gross to the curriculum committee that says you did in fact know.
Okay. I think that conversation has taken up a good amount of time, but it's right to take up a good amount of time. It's an important conversation. I do want to end on a note where I just want to recognize the work of the district to be responsive to the second grade parents and to the community to sort of try to explain this. And you both in the email that Mrs. Gross sent out, to the time you spent today, to the answering of the questions from the community, that outreach to you as well as the board members, to the questions that have been asked for tonight. It's just it's a good representation of your willingness to be accessible. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I do want to just also say that, and I agree with you, Mr. Lewandowski. We can use this as a learning opportunity, where topics like this, while they do not require board action, getting to the board and letting the board know sooner is always good. And I think we can always learn from experiences like this, so that we can continue to sort of address these issues before they become issues. So thank you as well for that. All right, I'm going to move on. Mr. Ballone, any other announcements, please?
I do. I have another announcement. So annually, the Marlboro Township Police Department runs a youth academy, and it's essentially I believe it's a 2-week course where our students get a little taste of what it's like to be a police officer, and they go through a mini boot camp. And this year was no different. So they had their graduating class on August 8th, which was a Friday, and they presented this plaque to us as a token of their appreciation for our partnership. So I do want to publicly thank Marlboro Township and the police department for the partnership we have with them, not only, of course, with this youth program, but also to keep our schools safe and secure. We have a police officer in the back there, so thank you to you and your department. We have a former police officer from Marlboro in the back as well, who works for us now. And we have Class 3 officers in our building from Marlboro Township, and we have school resource officers, SROs. So thank you, Marlboro Township Police Department, for your partnership. We know it will continue, and will only get stronger, so thank you.
We also have school security monitors that are some former police
Yes,
officers.
those are former
Yeah,
law
so-
enforcement, just not in Marlboro necessarily, but yes.
The partnership is wonderful. And I want to say, I think there was a Marlboro student from the high schools who also went through this. I think he was honored or something like that. There was something else that I remember reading recently about that.
Oh, okay.
But it's a great
Great.
program. I always heard good things about it. And, there's so many other programs like this, like the cadet program that they have, that are really important and valuable to this community and to our students, to teach them sort of the importance of civic responsibility, but also the importance of being part of the community and what our police officers do. So thank you to those who serve now and those who served in the past and those who will serve in the future. Other announcements?
I don't have any.
Mr. Carabella.
I have one just to bring to everybody's attention. So the turf field at the Marlboro Middle School is almost completed. As you can see in the back, the only thing we're waiting for is an actual gate, I believe bleachers. So the township is almost done completing that, and once they're done, they'll turn that over to us, probably sometime in September. And so the next process is just us setting up a fee schedule and like a usage schedule, because I know we already have some people lined up reaching out to start utilizing the facility. So same process, we'll just update the fee schedule. We're actually pulling from different districts and also the schedule that the town provides for their other turf baseball fields, and we're probably going to mirror something like that for rental purposes.
Thank you. And just, I know you said it, but I'll repeat it. This was a project that was funded through the township, and not through our school budget.
Yes, so this was funded through the township through pilot program. So this is technically bonds that the township has purchased. And how they will be paid off is through the form of pilot revenue. And this basically is gifted to us to share basically some of those funds that are from the pilot programs, because we don't necessarily will get any tax dollars for the students that we educate from those places.
So this was the program that instead
Is
of,
your mic on?
yeah, it's on. Instead of community members paying taxes, there was a grant given
Correct,
to the
yeah.
town.
Okay. Before we move on, I just saw, just for the record, Mr. Hyatt's joined us, so thank you.
Yeah, apologies.
No worries. All right, we're going to move on to the first item, which is the presentation for ELL's testing performance, or ELS, as they say, right?
And we have Mrs. Georges here. She is the vice principal at Robertsville Elementary School. Welcome, Mrs. Georges.
Welcome.
Better now? Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Oh, perfect. Gotcha. Thank you. Oh, good evening. Welcome. As Mr. Ballone introduced me, I am Kim Georges, the vice principal of the fabulous Robertsville Elementary School and also the district supervisor for the ESL program. So this evening, I am going to review with you the results of the annual Access for ELS report. The Access for ELS is an annual test that we give all of our ESL students to test their proficiency in the acquisition of the English language. So before I go over the results, I just want to talk about how we identify students that speak another language. It's basically done at the registration process where every parent is given a form where they're to fill out if another language is spoken at home. If it is, the registrar will send me, I have a form she fills out, and it will flag that student as needing to be screened for ESL. If they qualify, and that is that they receive a score of 4.5 or below, we send them a form, inform them that they are eligible for the ESL program. They do have the right at that time to refuse services if they do not want their child in the program. So the ESL program is aligned to the WIDA Can-Do descriptors, the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and the WIDA English Language Development Standards. It's also aligned to the Marlboro Content Area Curriculum Guides in ELA, Social Studies, Science, and Math. The students in K-5 receive 30 minutes a day of ESL instruction. That is a pull-out program. It's mostly done by grade level, and the ESL teacher takes them and has them every day for the year. In students in grades 6 through 8, the ELA classes they will have here, as well as usually an extra period of general support and also some push-in support. So the access testing. Last year, we had a very large group of MLs. The students are tested in 4 domains on the Access for ELS test. It's reading, speaking, listening, and writing. At the beginning of the 24-25 school year, we had 184 students, which is probably the highest number we've ever had. 160 students opted into the ESL program. 24 students of that 184 were declined, but they still took the test. So the results. 115 of those students will continue to receive services for the 25-26 school year. 10 of our 10 grade 8 students will continue ESL at Colts Neck High School. 46 attained proficiency and have exited the program. We had 1 student move out of district. And of the 24 declined students, 18 are still eligible. 6 have attained proficiency and no longer eligible, and 4 students, parents absolutely refuse to have them tested. So how that looks overall is for the 25-24 school year, most of our students landed somewhat in the middle. 95 were in the developing, which is showing they're progressing along. The expanding, which is the 4.5 and above exits, is 23, and those that scored almost a perfect score was about 23 as well. So the language progression. Typically, our ESL students spend about 3 years in the program. Currently, though, there are 12 students that are still in the program that have been in the program for more than 3 years. We don't exit them out. We just let them, keep, coming for ESL. Now, of our 24 students, 8 are still eligible for services even after 3 years of testing and refusing. So our MLs across the district. So as of today, we have 115 students across the district. We have ESL students at Asher, DeFino, Dugan, Morrell, Robertsville, and Memorial, and that number equals 115. As you can see, the bulk of the students are in grades 2 with 25 and grades 3 with 28. And then typically, if they enter into kindergarten with us, they're usually out by the end of 3rd grade, which is why you would see that drop off in 4th grade. Our languages. So our largest language is Russian with 40%, followed by Chinese at 12%, and Spanish is at 9%. We also have Georgian at 7%, Ukrainian at 5%. And as the pie shows, we do have a lot of other languages spoken among our students. When I presented last year, I said, you know what, I'm going to start looking at the language breakdown over the years. So for this year, I put, and what you'll see in green are what last 2 years ago looked like and what last year looks like. And what I have noticed is I'm seeing that there is a decline in the Russian-speaking students, but there is an increase in our Chinese-speaking students and our Spanish-speaking students. So I'll keep monitoring and keep tracking that. In terms of the ethnic breakdown of our students, 66% report as white, 27% report as Asian, and then we have Hispanic at 11%, Black as 2.7%, and Alaskan Native American is 2.2%. In terms of economically disadvantaged, 11% are eligible for free lunch and 3% are eligible for reduced. So that number is not very high in terms of, needing additional services. In terms of our ESL students that have IEPs, the largest number is at 8.2%, and they're listing a communication impairment. So I kind of put a lot of numbers at you quickly, but does anybody have any questions?
Not a question. I just want to say I did appreciate from last year to this year you did show some of the numbers, and that was actually really cool. I had one question on the 20% that was denied. when you were showing that. When it says denied, did that mean that somebody filled out the application online and it just meant that they were just denied based on whatever the reasons were?
Exactly.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you, Mrs. Georges. I think the board should also understand with the decline in enrollment in ESL, at least as it stands right now, and you'll hear this during budget time as well, but I would like to publicly thank Mrs. Georges and Mrs. Gross for creatively scheduling our students, because we were actually able to, we had a retirement in the ESL, in one of our ESL teachers, and we did not replace that position for this year. So due to creative scheduling and the declining enrollment, we used that as an opportunity to save money. So thank you.
You're welcome. And if
So-
you could think of any questions, please don't hesitate to
Just,
reach out.
Just a comment and a question, I guess. First, my comment is that thank you, because I know how important programs like this are from the data and the reports that I've read nationally that talk to student success. And the earlier you address these challenges for some of our students, the greater chances they have at succeeding as they progress through school. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. When you talked about any student who is found eligible to receive the services will participate in access for ELS are tested even if the service is refused, and then a slide after that, you recognize the fact that 4 students refuse testing. So even if they're not getting services, you try to test them to determine whether or not they're proficient or not proficient going forward.
Absolutely.
But you can't force a student if a parent chooses not to have that happen.
No.
You're still obeying or living up to parental engagement.
Absolutely. We notify all of the parents that testing is happening. The letter is specific that although you have opted out of the ESL program, your child is still eligible to take this test, just so they understand the importance of it too. And, I would imagine through their own curiosity, they would like to know, how has their child progressed with their English language? So even if they don't believe in the program, it was very unusual to see those 4 opt out, because usually they do enjoy taking that test.
Thank you. And then the question I have is regarding, because I know the program goes K through 8,
Yes.
right? Do you find that the most of our students are entering in a particular grade, or do you find that there's a particular grade in which it sort of becomes pretty opportunistic for us to sort of get them tested and to sort of get them into the program so that they have better successes to sort of move out of the program within that 3 academic years that you recognize?
It seems like if they can come to us by kindergarten, they have the greatest measure to succeed and be out of the program by 3rd grade, which for me, I love to see that happen, because then I feel like it gives them eligibility for other classes as well, like 3 into 4, like if they're looking to opt into like a C-level class. I think it puts them in line with all the other students. I feel like once they start to enter 2nd, 3rd, they typically stay a grade level behind, and when they do enter like 5th and 6th grade, I believe it's very difficult for them to exit out in that 3 years. Our numbers have stayed pretty high at Memorial, and it seems like that they're pretty much, if they enter in 6th grade, we are sending them to Colts Neck High School to continue to receive ESL services.
So the 12 students that you say are currently enrolled in the program for more than 3 years, likely they entered into the program later in the later grades. Is that an assumption that I'm making that's correct, or you're not sure? It's okay if you're not.
I know. I would like to look at the data to
Okay.
see, because our program historically I think I've probably had this for maybe about well over 10 years. It was mostly the bulk of them came in kindergarten, were out by 3rd, and we would get sporadic enrolls, in various grade levels. I really have not been seeing 8th graders exit out, and where I have been seeing a few of them is if they are entering in 2nd or 3rd grade, there is probably about half that will exit out and not have to continue at Memorial. So, I could put together some numbers, but it's pretty much that model of them being in there for 3 years would be if they started in kindergarten for sure.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Okay, next presentation is overview of the special education program.
I can't stand at the podium. I really have to talk. I'm so loud. I'll try and whisper. So Allie and myself are here. I'm Mary Elizabeth Sturcio. I'm the Director of Special Services, and Allie Mortar, she's our supervisor. We're just here to talk programs tonight and not specific about any student. So if you have any questions, you can call our office and we'll be happy to talk to you. We can't talk about anybody specific. All right. This is basically what the programs are and where they're at for the school year. Oh, where's the clicker? So in district, we have multiple programs. This is everything that we have right now from preschool. So within the preschool, we have preschool disabled, we have the integrated preschool, and then we have what we like to call our ABA preschool. So it's preschool disabled is preschool disabled. It doesn't differentiate between MD, autism, and LLD like they do in the older grades, but we have a preschool program that is specifically for students who need more intensive ABA instruction. So that's why we kind of call it the ABA program. In first through eighth, we have resource. So we have in-class resource where it's 2 teachers, and we have pull-out resource where the students are physically pulled out from the classroom and entering into a smaller setting for learning. We have our LLD program, our multiply disabled program, our autism program, and our ERI program. The emotional regulation impairment program, autism, and MD and LLD are all what you would call self-contained or special class. So those are more individualized instruction for students.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the preschool programs and what makes them different. We have 3 different levels with regard to support and also the criteria to kind of move forward into each of those levels. So our foundational level is our preschool ABA classroom, as Mary Elizabeth mentioned. This is a self-contained program. Students are really working on their developmental skills so that they can be ready for learning. They work in a very small setting, usually a 1-to-1 ratio or a 2-to-1 ratio with a structural assistant support. And they're working through the VB map on those skills that are very intense and very individualized so that they're working on engaging with their peers, but also listening to directions and following with independence. The next step up would be our preschool disabilities classroom, and that's a slightly larger classroom, and it's more independent. We have 2 instructional assistants in our classrooms. They're still working on those developmental skills that they have when we're looking at our developmental milestones for our students in ages 3 and 4. But they do have some more language, they have some more independence, and they're getting closer to reaching those milestones. Our preschool integrated class is our classroom that combines general education students that come in on the lottery program and our students with an IEP. The students with our IEP are very, very close to meeting their developmental milestones, but they really need those peer models so that they can get to the top and get right where they need to be. They're working on that language, and they're really, really supported by having both the teacher support and instructional assistant in there, but also seeing their peers utilize their language so that they can grow further individually and work on those IEP goals so that we're ready to move forward into kindergarten.
And that's all at Abbott. And then our resource program, so we have resource programs at every elementary school and both of our middle schools. We have, like I said, the in-class resource where we have 2 teachers, so it is a general education classroom with general education completely taught all the time, except there's the additional special education teacher that does the modifications and accommodations within the classroom. And then for the pull-out resource, it is a little bit more, it's a smaller classroom. The students are removed from the general education setting, and it's a small group instruction. So it's tailored a little bit more towards their individual needs, but still utilizing a lot of the general education curriculum.
Our language and learning disability program, we call it the LLD program because that's quite a mouthful. It's located solely at Dugan Elementary School and Marlboro Middle School. This is an intense self-contained program where all of the students in that classroom are receiving a similar level of instruction. They all have an IEP, and it's a multisensory approach to learning. So in Dugan, it's one teacher leading with the support of at least a program assistant. Sometimes we have some students that require a ratio assistant, so there might be extra hands within the classroom. And they're usually ranging, we try not to range up to 3 levels. Sometimes we do because it's more appropriate socially, or just because it's where our students are academically. It does make sense to go for a 3-level grade level span. But for us, for this current school year, we're going to have 5 LLD classes at Dugan. So we're going to have a kindergarten class, a 1, 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, because that's really what the levels that we're seeing coming in, and we want to make sure that we're setting up our kiddos to have the most success both socially and academically. And then when they move into Marlboro Middle School, we run it a little bit differently because we do anticipate our students to have a little bit more independence and a little bit higher level of academics. So we do it by grade level, and it's usually a 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Next year, we will have 2 LLD classes, and that's just how our projections are looking for this year. But the model will be very similar to the elementary, with the exception of in elementary school, they have 1 teacher for all the content areas. In Marlboro Middle, they will have a different teacher to specialize in that content area, similar to their peers. So they are changing classes, and they're getting that experience of transitioning among their peers within the hallway.
And one of the biggest things for the LLD program that we found in the elementary school, because we were doing multi-grade, we felt like they weren't getting that true experience that you would get in your typical classroom. So they do, the fact that we're able to do a 3, a 4, and a 5 separate, make it so that the students are able to do everything with their peers, and there's not that multi-grade. Our MD program is at Defino Central and Marlboro Middle. The multiply disabled program we have at Defino in K through 5. We have 1 teacher per classroom, and there are 3 classrooms. We have a K1, a 2-3, and a 4-5. In that, it's very individualized to the student's needs and tailored to their specific IEP goals. However, the way that we teach in the MD classroom is more of a very small group instruction. So you're looking at dyads, so 2 students working with the teacher, 3 students working with the teacher. It's much smaller than what you would see in an LLD program. And then at Marlboro Middle, we also have the multiply disabled program. It is 1 classroom at Marlboro Middle. There is a lot of emphasis on functional academics, and it's taught by 1 teacher.
Our autism programs can be found at Robertsville Elementary School for K through 5th grade, and Marlboro Middle School houses our autism program for 6th through 8th grade. This program is very unique. It is incredibly intense, similar to our PSD ABA, as it's individualized, and it has a very high ratio with 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio for adult support. Our autism students have that intensive support so that they can get direct instruction and work on an individualized basis. We do infuse whole group learning for that, for like morning meetings, circle time, dyad opportunities, so that we can start transitioning them to be more independent. But right now, our students in this program generally do require more direct instruction so that they can find progress within their own IEP goals. Marlboro Middle School's program is similar in the structure that it's a lot of adult support, because there is a lot of ratios in there. However, they do have the AFLS assessment, so their instruction is tailored to functional learning and functional academics as well. So they are working on being more independent in life skills and getting from, through their day with some independence, but following the structure that's going to be the most supportive for each individual in there. So if you ever have an opportunity to pop into one of our classes in Robertsville or Marlboro Middle, you would see kiddos kind of running on their own schedule and their own pace, but they're making a lot of progress because of that level of instruction and that model that we're utilizing.
So our ERI programs are at Marl and now going to be at Marlboro Middle. We have the ERI program from kindergarten through 5th grade at Marl, and we have the middle school program that's opening up right now from 6 to 8. So with that, there is 1 teacher that leads the classroom. This program is a little bit different because academically, most of the students are either at their grade level or some could be above. And really, we're looking at that emotional piece for them. So we have built in social worker into the program at both the elementary school and the middle school. And there is a heavy focus on counseling. So the counseling component is individualized counseling, group counseling, and family counseling, so that we can help with the behavioral component, because that's really what's holding them back in that setting. It's not the academics for them. Most of the time, it's just their behaviors. And kind of learning that emotional regulation for themselves, those coping skills, those strategies. That's kind of what that whole program really focuses heavily on. We have a K-1-2. That's a little bit more play therapy, a little bit for your younger age, because they're really more learning like how to be in school and how to make friends and how to share. And that's kind of that social piece and that emotional piece that you're learning at that young age. Our 3, 4, 5 is a little bit more academic too, because they're getting kind of ready for that, but still learning those strategies as well. As we go into the middle school, so this is transitioning, so this program is going to be brand new to Marlboro Middle this upcoming school year. Very stressed, just like last year, very, very stressed, very. But it's gonna be great. This is a little different though. It's led by 2 teachers. So we wanted to give the same experience that all their peers are getting at the middle school with having multiple teachers, not having one teacher all day. They get to move within classrooms, so they're not kind of feel like they're stuck in one setting. And we find that to be one of the things when we speak to students who were at a district in an ERI program. One of the biggest things that they used to say was, I don't like sitting in the same classroom all day long, especially when they get older, because they realize that like their peers don't sit in a classroom all day long. So that was really a big focus for us, was making sure that they had multiple teachers so that they didn't feel like they were getting the same thing all day long. This too has a social worker component, and within that, the social worker it's individual counseling, group counseling, and family counseling. So we're really kind of trying to wrap around all of those strategies for these students who are really struggling with emotional regulation.
Our child studies team, we are very fortunate here in Marlboro. We have a large number of child study team members where we get to support all of our schools across the district. They work together. The case managers vary on their roles, so they can be a social worker, a school psychologist, an LDTC, but they all work so collaboratively, and we work collaboratively as a department so that we can provide a focus on the least restrictive environment for all of our students that are eligible for an IEP and specialized services. So like I had mentioned, we have school psychologists, social workers, LDTCs, which are learning disability teaching consultants. They are heavily involved in our evaluation process. They recommend and talk to all of our building administration on their placements and make sure that our teachers and our staff are supported so that we can better support our students.
So one of the things that I'm very proud of here in Marlboro is our BCBA services. I think we have an extensive BCBA services here. Our model looks very different than a lot of other districts. I feel like we're proactive in how we utilize our BCBAs and their programming. So we tell them all the time, you are part of the program. You are not somebody that just goes in there to handle a fire because of a behavior is occurring. You're in there to work with the student and teach them behavior skills, teach them how to monitor themselves. So their role in the school and the program varies depending on which school they're in. We try and place them based on their skill level. So just for instance, one of our BCBAs has background in autism. She's placed at Robertsville to kind of be a part of the Robertsville program. So we kind of look at all their skill set. When we are hiring BCBAs, we look at what they've done in the past to make sure that we don't have the same, I don't want to say style of BCBA, but background, so that they can all kind of bring something to the table. And they work together. So if there's a case where they have questions, they're able to talk it through. So we're lucky enough to have 4 BCBAs in district, and they do a lot within, not only inside the classroom, but they do a lot with the families. They do a lot of training. They do a lot of training with the teachers, kind of making sure that everybody understands what they need to do for that child.
Related services. So we have related service providers in all of our schools, and these are the individuals that focus on speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. To qualify for these services, it's also part of our evaluation process, and we take in a lot of documentation from outside sources such as doctor recommendations, but we utilize a school-based model. So we have speech-language pathologists that they specialize in identifying and offering speech-language therapy in schools for preschool through 8th grade. OT, or occupational therapy, is very similar, and they work on fine motor, cognitive skills, and sensory components throughout their school day. So a lot of our students are not only working on their handwriting and gripping the pencils correctly with their occupational therapist, but we utilize them for consultants when we have students that are having a hard time with the sensory elements in a classroom. They give us feedback. We give lots of things to try. They give us wonderful tools to utilize within our classrooms with all of our students. And then we have a physical therapist within the district as well, and they work on our gross motor concerns for our students that have concerns with ambulation or walking around the environment, being safe in their environment, and navigating their environment with safety. So this is a school-based model, so it's a bit different than our parents might be used to if they're seeking outside services through their insurance or if they had early intervention. But it is comparable because this therapy, it's pulled out for services where they push in, and then it's utilized, those strategies are utilized throughout the school day and practiced and reinforced throughout the school day. So the school-based model is very unique because it really goes throughout the span of their school day.
I wanted to give a couple of Department of Education updates. So this is kind of just things that are coming down from the DOE. We've always had to follow all their mandates and do it in a really timely, quick fashion. So one thing that I think is really interesting is the DOE is seeking feedback on special education on the code from everybody. So if you are interested in giving your feedback as a parent on the special education code, they have a link where you can share, what you think is good about the code, what you disagree with the code, and there are definitely things out there that I'm sure that people would love to speak up about within the code. So they have that. If you're interested, I could send you the survey link so that you can directly go to it. But I thought that was interesting. This year, they're changing, so preschool students, all of our preschool students, when they exit preschool, not to general education, special education students, need to be reevaluated before they go into kindergarten. Typically, we would have had a 60-day window for their reevaluation because that's how reevaluation works. You get 60 days to do the reeval. In preschool now, what they're doing is, as long as we are receiving the consent from the family within the preschool year, within their last year of preschool, we will have the entire year to be able to complete all of their testing. So that tends to be a very heavy hit at the preschool level. We get a lot of students that all then are graduating that all need to be tested in April, May, and June, and it actually causes a problem. So I'm excited that they did something like this. It doesn't change anything with their programming. It really just gives us a little bit more time to make sure that we're getting all the evaluations done and that they're thorough. The DOE is also looking for parents to advise on IEP improvement. So they're going into the IEP process now, they're going into IEP planning, and they're interested to see if anybody wants to be a part of that. I actually applied to be on that. They're taking administrators, teachers, parents, community members, siblings, so if you're interested, you want more information, reach out. I'm happy to share it with you as well. And then the last biggie that just came out in August, yay, is by July 1st of next year, everybody has to give to parents 2 days prior to an IEP meeting, 2 business days. They need to receive, the families need to receive what will be discussed in the IEP, the current levels, so those PLAFs that everybody always says, the present levels of the student, any list of required IEP members who were excused from the meeting prior, so that needs to be 2 days prior as well, and an invitation for parents and guardians to provide the feedback. So that is a little bit different than what I'm sure many families have experienced in the past. This does not affect the 10-day evaluation window. So when evaluations are completed, they have to be sent to the family 10 days prior. This is more specific about an annual review and discussing what's going to, almost like you're getting a pre-discussion of what's going to be discussed at the meeting. So I actually think this is great. We're very excited about it. It's just, we have to change a couple of our processes to get it in place, but I think we're gonna do it throughout the school year. So once we've really kind of changed over to that, we are gonna let our families know that we're kind of already implementing what they want us to implement by July 1. I would rather just get it in now because I think it's actually a great practice. It's just people have to be prepared for it because there's a lot of information that's shared now a couple of days earlier. I don't think it's going to be a heavy lift, but we just have to prepare everybody, and we just got this. So that's the other thing that came out from the DOE. And on our website too, all these links are under our special education page. And then here's our information, mine, Allie's, our two wonderful, amazing secretaries who we can't do anything without, and they deserve an Oscar and every award that I could possibly give them. And thank you. That's it. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
And if I throw you a curveball, I apologize, but I don't think you will. I don't think I will. Can you just give us a sense of the magnitude of the enrollment or the population, the total population that you're working with within the district for all these programs? And then which program probably or programs represent the largest percentage of the work that you do?
Okay. I don't have exact number off the top of my head, but students with IEPs, you're roughly about 675 students with IEPs, about another 200 students that just have speech-only IEPs, and then we also oversee, Allie and I oversee all the 504s, which is about another 200 to 250 students. So you're looking at about 1,100 students that come out of special education for what we kind of oversee. Our biggest population would be the ICR resource because that is the most students that are receiving that programming. It is the largest because it spans from kindergarten through 8th grade. And we do have multiple classrooms in every building with every grade level. So that is definitely our biggest program. However, that's probably not our neediest program, I would say, because that is more of the general education population and that is more of general education curriculum. So we're really modifying what we already do in district. A lot of our self-contained programs are very individualized to the students that come in. So we every year have different students that come in and we need to really adjust to their needs. So really after doing an evaluation, we have to understand what else we need to bring in. It's ever changing. We're always looking at new curriculums, new materials, new anything to bring into the classroom, so that it really varies on what students come in and what programs we're needing to do a change on. Like the ERI program was a big lift for us because we didn't have that program at all here, so we had to build the supports around it, build the classrooms, build everything around it to make sure that it was going to be a successful program. So I think it really depends on what you're looking at, if you're asking like what takes up more of the need or what is the biggest. The biggest is ICR-POR.
Thank you. And have you seen this year with the numbers about 1,100, that's roughly about 25% of our total population. Mm-hmm. Has that number been stable for the last couple of years, or has that number gone up or down?
The number's going up. Our self-contained population is actually going up the most, I would say. It is, when you look at the percentage of it, it is a small amount of students in self-contained, but for us, it's a large amount of students that are coming in that require intensive services.
Okay. And then just on the ERI program, so I know very early on we talked about it, and congratulations again on the continued success of that program, and especially the fact that it's now moved into the middle school. That's great. Population in the ERI program in district and out of district. A sense of that number?
So we have.
And what I mean by, I'm sorry, but what I mean by out of district, those who are coming into our program from out of district, so helping to sustain the program.
Oh, right now we have one student who came into the program from another district, and then we brought back another student. So 2 students came back into the program for this upcoming school year. We kept 3 students from going out of district by creating the K-1-2 for the upcoming school year. Otherwise, if we didn't create the younger grade, we would have had 3 that needed to go out of district from K-1-2, and then 3 that would have needed to go out of district in the 6th through 8. And then we have 2 students that came in.
And each one of them, each one that goes outside the district represents roughly about $100,000 a year in costs.
In the educational piece, about $100,000, and then you're looking at Mr. Caravello, like $50,000 for transportation. It depends on the bus route, depends on where the program is. So you're looking at anywhere between $80,000 to $150,000 for each student.
Wow. Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Gandhi?
I had a question. Did you say there are 4 BCBAs in the district?
Yeah.
Yes, there's 4 BCBAs in the district. So we have 1 BCBA who is at the Early Learning Center. We have 1 BCBA who does both the middle schools, and then we have 2 BCBAs who do the elementary schools.
And do these 4 BCBAs touch the 1,100 students, or is it just a smaller group that they actually work with?
I would say that they do touch a large amount of students. It really just depends on the needs, and it does vary. So we have a process in place when a student has a behavioral need or needs the consultation of a BCBA, that the request comes in and we have a better understanding of the student and the behaviors that have been that has been exhibited by the child. And then we kind of go from there, whether or not it's going to be direct BCBA consultation, if it's going to be consultation with the teacher, if it's going to be an observation to then decide what that looks like. So we kind of go through a process of really looking into each student, but the BCBAs do touch a lot of students, way more than I ever anticipated them to.
So you said that the population is growing, correct? So again, this is just a question for next year, maybe budgeting wise, but do you feel that if the number of kids that are growing, that we may potentially, the district may need to look at bringing in more BCBAs? Because already like 4 for 1,100 kids seems quite a huge, task for 4 BCBAs.
I actually don't think we would need another BCBA. I think our BCBAs are very good at what they do, and I think that they balance their jobs very well. You could always say you want more of everything, right? I think that there are other areas within the department that might need to be looked at for what we need to better support. The mental health piece for us is heavy in our department, and although BCBAs do a great job with handling behavior, their background is not necessarily the mental health, and so we're kind of balancing that out too, because we are seeing a lot of kids coming in with trauma that needs to be addressed, and that's kind of one of the bigger struggles that we've had, because that's not necessarily something that we've had here in the past. So we're really we need to look at that as well, as like, how do we address that? I think right now the 4 BCBAs are doing an amazing job, and I think we're lucky to have them. We're always going to be looking, because it really just depends on the population that comes in. If our self-contained population grows, specifically more, our autism program is really growing quickly, then that might be something we have to look at, because BCBA is 100% necessary in the autism program.
Okay. Now, it's good to hear that, if there are other needs that are arising, that you guys are thinking about that and looking at how to kind of staff that for, whether it's the next year or the year after. So as long as that's really being looked at and those needs are being sort of brought to, whether it's Vinny who's doing the budget, I just want to make sure that that piece is happening. That's all. But yeah.
I bring all the needs to the table.
I just had one quick question. For the special programs that you had, like the LLD or the MD autism and ERI programs, I saw it at about 2 schools, right? 1 elementary and 1 middle. If you have a child who's zoned for another school, do they then go to that school? I was just curious how that works.
So depending on the program that they need, they would attend that school. So then we do special transportation to get them to that building, and then that's the program that they are in. And if they no longer need that program, then we would transition them back to their home school.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Mr. Caravello, referendum update?
Yes, so I just wanted to give everybody an update regarding the referendum. As you know, it's going to be in the general election on November 4th. I've been sharing with many of you regarding some of the communications we get from Laura Bishop Communications and all of the emails that they forward to me, and then I try to share them everything with you. So we sent the snapshot today, basically just to update, and we wanted to update the community as well. So for the past couple months, I think since the end of school, we've been working with Laura Bishop Communications to develop an informational referendum campaign. And the goal was to launch it with it to coincide with back to school night and also Marlboro Day. So some of the things that we have accomplished are the giveaways. Some of the giveaways that you'll see at Marlboro Day consist of an ice pack or a chip clip with really our brand, and our tagline for this referendum campaign is going to be "No sweat, no debt." With that, we've been putting together with them a website for the referendum, so that actually is up live and running. If you go onto our website under the referendum tab, you'll see a link to the website, which is a fact page as well for a lot of questions that you may have regarding the referendum. So this is basically the first step in initializing it and getting the messaging out there, and now it's really go time when it comes to the start of school until election season. So we encourage you to just take a peek at the website. Just familiarize yourself with the content, because if you do have some questions, it's always good to just email or ask if you don't see something on there that you may want answered. Also, you'll be seeing on social media, there will be a lot of messaging going out starting in school, probably the middle of September, regarding just basically gearing you towards the website, and also to keep it on the forefront of discussing it and a topic at future board meetings. I know we only have, after this, September and October to really discuss anything that we want to bring to the table. October being a big one where we're going to have everybody coming out to talk about the referendum. Also flyers, so we are developing flyers right now to be distributed at Marlboro Day and also back to school nights. We're hoping to have tables at each one of those to really have basically a station where questions can be asked and topics can be discussed regarding the referendum. So if, for who doesn't know, the referendum is for HVAC at Robertsville and Asher. There are only 2 elementary schools without air conditioning in the classrooms. So the referendum is solely for that, for those 2 schools. We also in the talks of outdoor signage, so not outdoor signage to really give out to people, but outdoor signage to creatively and strategically place on our property, whether it be banners or signage. So we'll work with Laura Bishop with that, as well as we get closer to election season, we'll be putting those out. Some of the upcoming dates, so around September 3rd, we're going to begin our social media posts on the district website. September 7th, as you know, is Marlboro Day, so there'll be a whole table set up dedicated to referendum purposes and gearing up, talking about those things and having giveaways for that purpose. September 15th, we're working with Laura Bishop Communications, and it will be shared with the board as well before it goes out, is a video, basically a campaign video and short little video clips that will go out presiding from September 15th all the way to the election day. And then October 14th is our board meeting, and that's really going to be a meeting presentation and a Q&A. So our bond counsel will be there, communications company will be there, our financial advisor will be there, our architect and engineer will be there. Really any expert questions or specific questions that are geared toward a specific source, they'll all be present and available to answer that for us.
Mr. Lawonsky.
I just see in October, we only have regular meeting. Maybe this is an opportunity to add a workshop, because this is kind of really important. It's going to take a big chunk of time, and I hate to see that rush during a regular meeting when we can maybe, you know, have a workshop meeting dedicated to the referendum and whatever else business might come up that month. And then we could discuss it again, I'm sure, at a regular meeting, but that's what workshop meetings really are for.
And then my other question is, I definitely agree with Mr. Lawonsky. If we could do something, like a separate workshop, if it's possible, that would be helpful. I know you mentioned it's going to be more live, but could we do like a hybrid setting where parents that may not be able to make it in person, they could maybe, you know, attend virtually and put in questions? I think we'll probably get a lot more people attending that way. I don't know if that's an option.
I mean, as far as another meeting, that I'll defer that to the full board if you guys want to have a workshop meeting if you're available. As far as the opportunity to message in, I can ask Laura Bishop and weigh in on, you know, what's strategically the best approach for that, because there would also have to be time limits, as if some of the questions don't necessarily focus on the referendum. I don't know how far deep we want to go into some of those questions.
I mean, we could, so there are ways around it. I mean, we can absolutely keep those questions. We can talk about that offline as well, and how to manage that, where the questions don't have to be seen by everybody. That's, you know, it could just go to one specific person, then we can figure out what really pertains to the referendum and just answer those questions. And anyone that we couldn't respond to because of time limits, we could always have like their email or contact and just kind of do like a personal outreach and say, we realize we couldn't get to your question, but here's a response for it. If you know, so there are ways around it, but I do really think that if we could make it a hybrid approach, it would be beneficial.
I think it's a great idea, both of those. Earlier in October, the better. I wouldn't hold this at the end of October, a week before Election Day, but that's my view.
And the thing with the questions in advance, I believe the questions came when we used to have the board meetings. I was not on the board, I was a participant. It was through Zoom, not saying I want to go back to that. The only other thing was that people would email their questions in advance, and then they had the opportunity to answer it that way. So maybe if there's no moderator to manage the questions, to your point, maybe if they just sent it in advance of that meeting, and then you can, if you get to it, you get to it, and if not, you can email. And I'm on board with the meeting in October. I just had one other piece. Thank you, first of all, for the notes for us, sharing the flyer with us. You know, I thought that was a good information to give. Could we also consider just what helps sometimes is showing what it would look like when they're voting? So I'll just say during our campaign or during other campaigns, they show the ballot, and they showed Mrs. Seward had created, when we were campaigning, like a video to show people like how to make the selection. Could we do something, or even just a document to just show the image of where to select? That I find is helpful to people, because sometimes it's hard to read the ballot. Not for everybody, but for some.
Yeah, so it's good that you bring that up, because I think that was part of the creative plan for the short videos
Oh,
that they'll be
that's fine.
sending out. So they'll be.
Yeah, if that was it. I saw
going
the
over
video.
that,
I
yeah.
didn't see that part of the
No, because
detail.
after that, they'll be sending out like short messaging videos, and one of them will be an informational of how to
Yeah,
vote.
and maybe if it's also in like you had sent us the flyer, maybe it's also in just, instead, not only the video, because not everybody watches it, just some sort of flyer, just to show an image of like a little red box or whatever around where to click. That's all, whatever is easiest.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a good idea.
Just one more thing. So I know you talked about having flyers available for Marlboro Day. If we are going to do that workshop meeting, it would be beneficial to include that information in that flyer so that more people get access to it and they're aware of it. I don't know if that's something that we can, as a board, just decide if we're going to do a workshop meeting, what that date would be, and then put that in the flyer. So, just.
Yeah, if the board determines a workshop, then we can add whatever.
We'll have to make
is
that pretty soon,
necessary.
but either way, we could leave a QR code and update the website, so it's a good point. So, but if we decide, I don't think we have a board meeting before Marlboro Day, correct?
No, the next board meeting is on the 16th.
So we would need to either decide that, I don't think it requires.
Our next board meeting is September 16th.
So that's after. So we
Yep.
need to either decide tonight or decide offline.
Well, I'm going to share some potential opportunities,
Okay.
because I'm looking at the calendar, but I just want to make sure that all the comments or the questions that are being asked have been asked.
Got it.
Can we ask questions about the referendum now? Or you want it done later, like, in general?
Do you want to ask them now, or?
Yeah, I mean, I just have the one question that I had asked Mrs. Jelinski. At the last meeting, you weren't here, so I wanted to follow up on that. I saw in a lot of the marketing, it's, no sweat, no debt, no raise to your taxes. When I had spoken at the last meeting about replenishing our capital reserve, I don't know how many people follow, but, in neighboring towns, they did not have a plan to replenish capital reserve, and they went to a 13% tax increase, after their project was complete. So I just wanted to ask again, potentially, if we deplete our capital reserve, we could be looking at a future tax increase. Ms. Jelinski confirmed that hypothetically that could happen. So I just want to understand what our plan is to replenish that capital reserve.
I'm trying to understand the question. So I don't know how we could face a tax increase. We're always at the mercy of the 2% cap each year when we build a budget, unless the state offers us different types of waivers, like the health benefit waiver we've been taking, or any bank cap that's available. So there's two different things. So like replenishing the capital reserve account, that's done through fiscal constraints, budgeting, having your end of the year surplus designated to your deposit accounts, how we do in June with the action items that I put on for. As far as raising taxes, I'm at the mercy of the 2%. So unless I didn't utilize reserves and I did a referendum with just going out for bonds or long-term debt, then that's how taxes go up. But this is the purpose of utilizing the reserves to cover that, so the taxes don't go up. So there's that, and then replacing that, what we're utilizing is going to be done through time of building back up your reserves with the end of the year surplus. So we designate surplus for a balance to build your following year's budget, and then we also designate a portion to put into your maintenance reserve, your capital reserve, to start building that up again. As far as capital projects go, we are pretty caught up when it came to the ESIP program and the roofs and everything else we've done over the last 5-6 years. So really everything else for as far as maintenance and repair would fall under maintenance reserve, a lot of that stuff for like routine maintenance, but the capital reserve piece, we have time to build that back up depending on what it comes in at. So right now it says 5.3 million for the total project cost, but again, if the bids come in lower, then you only get 40% of that amount, and then I only have to shell out what I need to shell out, so it might be less than what's being anticipated. And if it's more, then we have to have a discussion is, where's the additional funding coming from?
Okay, thank you.
So just a few comments and then a conversation about a workshop. So first, I want to thank you because there's been the communication that's come out from you, Mr. Caravello, and on the work that's been done so far on the referendum has been great. So thank you. I think it's been very helpful. It's exactly what many of the board members have asked for, and it's been very informative for me, especially the piece about sort of helping us to sort of come up with talking points so that we as board members can actually speak about this in the right way. So thank you for that. I also just want to mention that for the board members, one of the dates that they've asked us to sort of try to find availability for board members to attend is for open school night. I know there was a sign-up sheet. The last version I saw, I don't know if it's been updated since, but the last version I saw, I think there is still some space available for some board members to sign up. So if you haven't, if you can, that'd be great. If you have signed up, thank you very much. I don't know if you can be in 2 places at once, but if there are alternative dates that you can go to, that'd be great too. But I think it'd be very important for us to have a board representative at every school for open school night or back to school night.
Could I ask a question on that point, if you don't mind? So thank you for that, because I did sign up for one, so I'll go back and check the other dates. And thank you for the talking points. I know we had talked about that in a previous meeting, and so I appreciate that. Is that where we could use then those talking points for back to school night? Is that?
Yeah, so it'd be for that, Marlboro Day, any type of table or informational piece that we'll run, we'll utilize those talking points. And of course, as questions come up that may not be included on them, we can modify them and add them so everybody has almost like a running, I want to say cheat sheet, but informational sheet for having good dialogue. And also the flyers will be present, the giveaways. So really just, we're trying to be fiscally responsible with the giveaways, so we're not just going to just give them out willy-nilly. We're actually going to control how they're handled, so we don't have to continually order them for the sake of ordering them.
Yeah, of course.
So they are being, once they're received, distributed for the purposes of Marlboro Day, back to school nights. And then if we feel like we're gaining traction where people are asking questions and coming to the booths and asking for, more information because they truly want to learn about it, then if we do need more giveaways or flyers, we'll recircle back to that.
Could I also, thank you for that, and I appreciated that note that you sent to us. Can I ask this then also for back to school night? Could we be prepared with the content in advance? So either if it's printed at the school level and then it's on the table, I don't know if that was the plan.
Yeah, so my office is going to be printing everything for Marlboro Day, and then we'll continually print it for whoever needs it for what purposes they're
So
using
could
it
it
for,
be
like
there?
back to
I'm just
school.
only asking, when we arrive, could it be there already? And not to give anybody more work, I could pick it up from the board office too. But before the back to school night, could it just be there? I'm assuming we're going to have a table set up, all the stuff already there. Or do you need us to do something to prepare?
Yeah, so I believe, back to school nights, forgive me, is there any date prior to our next September meeting?
I think, I only know one was on the 18th, I believe, where I'm going, so I don't know.
Because if I think my plan was to just print them all out and provide them at the next board meeting and hand them out to all the board members. You have.
According to mine, the first back-to-school night is actually on September 17th, and our next board meeting is on the 16th. So
Perfect.
you could potentially just bring it here and give it to a board member.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm happy to pick it up too from
Bring a bulk
wherever.
and give everyone as many copies as they need.
Yep.
To have.
Okay, good, so that we're prepared. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
That would be great. Also, you can give them some, for some of us who are new, you can also just, give us a quick briefing on what we should know about back-to-school night so we can be, ready and set and able to handle it. That'd be great.
Yeah, I only know it from the lens of going for my child, but I will definitely,
Well, or,
This is new
or
on camera.
Yeah, we
experienced
can
board
tell you.
members can share.
Yeah, we could share with you.
Can I ask for one more thing? I mean, I know we're doing flyers. I'm just saying, can we maybe have Chromebooks or something there that if people want to look right there on the website on the referendum, they can, I just want to give them as much as we can, not just like a little piece of paper they can walk away with. I want them to engage. So if they're there, they're looking at something, they can play, if they go on the website, whatever it is, just giving them more access and then maybe keeping them more engaged so they can stay there, they can ask the proper questions and not just like, oh, what's the referendum? We give them a flyer, they walk away. Just kind of getting the opportunity to really educate them on what it is and how it's going to help the schools.
I mean, I know how this district feels about QR codes, but they are helpful. So rather than creating a logjam with like a tablet or a Chromebook for one person to use at each time, honestly, QR code would be seamless where they can have constructive dialogue with you from them looking at it on their phone. So
That's fine too, just something digitalized, so it's
that's
not
something,
just
if the
a
board
piece
is
of
in
paper.
consensus, I mean, Michael, ultimately it's your decision as far as including a QR code for the link of the referendum page. I mean, this way it's easier to get to.
You know, the QR code issue was really for websites we did not control. When we control the content, I'm fine with a QR code.
Yeah,
Right? We
let's
have
do a
them
QR code.
around our school for various things. It's when it points to a website we don't control the content for, that's where we don't allow QR codes. But we can certainly make one. They're free.
Because
I know, I
ultimately
had to
it's,
scan a PTA QR code for MMS here, so I think it's completely
So
acceptable. I
instead
think
of
we should
putting
do
it
it.
on the flyer, honestly, you could put it on the flyer, but we can also just make one and put it in a frame. This way it's
Perfect,
on
that's
a table, so
that's
you
what,
can
yep,
just
that's
scan
what we
it when you
should
come
do.
up.
We should have that, but just something, like I said, I don't want people to just walk away with a piece of paper. I want there to be more interaction, and that way we can
Yeah.
answer their questions and convince them to vote for it.
Okay, and then I just want to add to, to the communications, thank you, because you also committed to sharing with the board the opportunity to weigh in on the giveaways or the flyers. You committed to the board to sort of make sure we would remain also informed on costs so that this can be controlled and maintained, and I appreciate that. And from what I've seen so far, the cost has been very controlled, so I appreciate that level of due diligence as well. My final comment is just about the idea about the workshop, Mr. Lolansky. Thank you for suggesting that. So here's the dates that I have from the calendar in front of me. September 16th is our board meeting, right? We have a board meeting on October 14th, all right? The election is on November 4th. The only dates in between are October 7th, October 21st, which is also at the same time as the NJSBA workshop, and October 28th.
What about the end of September?
The end of September would be September 30th.
Okay.
So we could potentially swap. Our next board, if our October 14th meeting for board, if our October 14th meeting is a regular board meeting, we could make that the workshop meeting, which will then be 3 weeks prior to election. And then we can make October 28th, which is the week before election, a regular board meeting, because the next meeting after that would actually be on November 18th, which would be our next board meeting. So we can just swap that if everyone is in agreement with that. So October 14th would be our workshop meeting, and October 28th would be our regular scheduled board meeting.
Say the dates again?
October 14th would be our workshop meeting, which is currently now a scheduled board meeting,
So that's prior to early voting, I believe.
which is 3 weeks prior to the
Okay.
regular election.
That works then.
And then October 28th would be our board meeting itself, which would be the week before the board meeting,
works for me.
weeks before election.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that works.
Just
Everyone okay?
Yeah, a question. Is that before early voting as well, October 14th?
I don't know that.
It should be.
It should be.
Let's
It's-
double check that.
Because then I think we should try to do it before early voting as well.
I feel like,
So-
Mr. Caravello, it was on the timeline that you had provided us, like, I think Laura Bishop provided a timeline of mailers and included some date of early voting, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Right? Didn't they include it on their timeline that you get sent us? I don't remember. I read it.
Yeah, so the week of September 22nd, our idea was to send postcards into mailboxes of all homes working with the township, and they put it's coinciding with the county's distribution of vote by mail ballots. So that's when they come out, is the
Right.
week of September 22nd.
Right, the ballot goes out, yeah.
Okay.
It's the end of September.
This says the ballot, I think, gets, the
Mhm.
estimated
By
date for the
mail-in, yeah.
ballot to be distributed would be October 6th,
That's mail-in.
but I don't see, I don't see. the
There's no,
date
like,
for
hard
actual
date
early
of
voting
the-
itself. You have it?
I have it here, yes. So this is a good plug for our new website. So we have
Website.
on our mtps.org website, if you look all the way to the right, there's a referendum tab. When you click on that tab, not hover over it, but click on it, it brings you to our referendum website. And on here, there are dates to remember if you click on the voting section. So October 14th is the deadline for new or updated voter registration.
Okay.
October 15th to November 2nd, designated in-person early voting locations are open. October 28th, last day to apply to have a vote by mail ballot mailed to you. November 3rd at 3 p.m., last chance to pick up a vote by mail ballot in person. And of course, November 4th is the in-person voting, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at designated polling locations.
So the 14th works out pretty ideal.
It does.
Okay, so is everyone comfortable with this? Then October 14th becomes a workshop, October 28th becomes our regularly scheduled board meeting, and that addresses the recommendation as well as the concerns addressed.
I'd say
All right.
let's do it.
I assume we don't need a board vote on this, we're all good with it. The notice. will be
Yeah, we
on.
just need to, so we'll be sending out notices to reschedule everything and create a meeting. I can do that all in one notice, right?
Great. All right. Any other questions or comments or suggestions on the early voting? Or, I'm sorry, on the referendum? All right, we're going to move on. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is actually for discussion of board goals. So let me preface this by saying this is a discussion today. It is not a vote of the board members. It was never intended to be a vote of the board members at this point. I would like to sort of engage in a conversation with everyone based upon, getting your feedback, your sentiments, your ideas, your suggestions. That could then be incorporated into a final version that would be shared again with the board for discussion and vote at our next meeting. The goals were shared with everyone, or at least the suggested changes to the goals were shared with everyone ahead of this meeting, and I know all the board members have a copy of it. I also want to state that the goals that I sent everyone did not change in the context or objective of the goals. They're exactly the same goals as last year's board adopted, all right? The suggested changes that I made in a summary way were to adjust some of the language so that the language would be reflective of what the role is of the board versus the role is of the district and the administration and the superintendent. And an example of that is that in some cases, our last year goals reflected, it said, we will improve, the objective was to improve student proficiency by increasing the number of students meeting or exceeding grade level expectation, right? And then there was an objective underneath that that said identify student achievement gaps. We don't do that. That is the job of the administration to do that work. So the recommended changes that I put forward, and I hope you had a chance to look at it because there was a lot of time put into putting this together, right? It gives you a comparison chart to walk you through the actual suggested changes. So I'll go through the highlights, and then I don't want to I know we have a lot of people here tonight, and I don't want to continue to delay opportunities for public comments, but I want to just make sure we have a good conversation about this. So the first goal is on student achievement, and for the most part, that stayed the same. What I did suggest, and again, these are just my ideas, subject to you guys giving me some feedback, we keep the board's work aligned to its roles of governance, policy, and administration and oversight. We strengthen the accountability for student success and ensure equity across schools and enhance transparency in the community. We refine the student achievement goal to clarify governance responsibilities and strengthen accountability for results. So, for example, governance versus administration, the 2025-2026 goal states that the superintendent is responsible for execution, while the board provides the oversight, the policy, the alignment, and the support of our resources. It also, the updated goal now requires a superintendent to identify achievement gaps, to implement support programs, set annual student achievement targets, and regularly report progress to the board. It also talks about the new language requiring policies, programs, and evaluations to be applied consistently across all schools within the district, and grade levels, ensuring fairness and, what I would say is, equity as far as how the policies or how the programs are applied. And then as far as data in the first goal with student achievement, instead of analyzing data, which we don't do, the board would now use superintendent-provided progress reports to guide our decisions on policy, resources, and strategic planning. And then I want to just address the last one, which is celebrating students, which requires a superintendent to continue to recognize students through supported programs and initiatives, and to include regular reporting at the board meetings, which I know you've been doing, but that ensures student success is recognized and celebrated publicly and transparently. So that's the first student achievement goal. I'm going to stop there and just see if there's any feedback, any comments on things that I suggested here, what you've seen and that I shared with you, and whether or not you want to add or change anything.
Yeah, and I know I had
Yeah.
emailed you back. And first of all, I appreciate how you showed the comparison, so thank you. I also appreciate the chart you shared to also show like the from and to, so I want to thank you for that. I know a lot of work goes into this. I know.
As someone who did it last year,
I know.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I do appreciate that. I'm in agreement. I just had a question. Some of the things that one of the things I had mentioned in my email back was just like, I would just say measuring success, right, of these. I don't have a problem with the wording. I would just sometimes add by ... So in number 2, on this first one, the board will ensure policies support access to high quality instruction and resources across all students and schools, right? So we're going to ensure the policies. I would just add like a by reviewing whatever policies on. It's a little broad. So I would just add, because that could be so many policies, right, of high quality instruction. So yeah, I would just say by reviewing, I like that, applicable policies on a biannual basis or something. I would just add a little bit of a target to it so it doesn't stay so broad. That's just my thought on that one. I like number 3 of we should use reports to inform governance decisions. What kind though? Like, I don't know, like, is it too, I'm asking like a conversation point, is it too broad for us to measure of like what kind of progress reports? I like it. We should use reporting and data to give us the reasoning behind certain things, but what would we have for strategic planning or resource allocations? I just want to list, do those exist?
It's a good point, and I think for us to define the reports in the goals, it's hard.
Right.
I think it's important for us to work closely with the superintendent and the district to see what reports they can provide, and we can then determine as a board whether or not those reports are helping to inform us in our role as board members, and if they're not, what other reports can we potentially get?
Right. Because one lesson learned, at least for me, as I like reflected on last year, is we should, as a board, and boards across the country, should be looking at these and giving updates regularly. And I think we could do more of that and checking ourselves. And so I would say on this one, to use the progress report, when? How? Like, that's just my thought on that one. And then I would only say, the other one, again, on number 4, is that policies, evaluations, programs are implemented, maintained, and performed in a standard and consistent manner across all schools and grade levels. What's the consistent manner? Like, does it, I just want to make sure we're giving, and maybe Mr. Bloom, because this is really for him, does he feel like that's enough, right? I just want to make sure, and I'm sure he saw it or he will weigh in. But that's a lot of things to make sure it's consistent, and like, is there enough direction so that when we measure it later, that's a lot of things to measure is really my
Well,
thought.
and to your point, he has seen them. He has not provided the feedback yet, because what our goals will do will inform his goals.
Right.
From the district
Yep.
perspective. So he's got to come back to us over the next couple of weeks.
Right.
And say, hey, I can develop a district goal that meets this, or I can't develop a district goal that meets this, or I don't understand what this means.
Yep.
Can you provide more clarity?
Yeah.
And I think that should help inform the final decision
Yeah.
when we meet as a board again.
So my only question to that point on number 4 is I just want to make sure it's not so many things, so broad, that when we have to measure success at the end, that we've kept it too high level and that he can't then write something that is actually measurable. But I like where it's going.
I will circle back with him before we finalize these
Yeah.
things and get his feedback.
So thank you for that. That was my feedback on that one.
Anyone else on goal number 1? Ms. Carrera?
Well, I sent it to you, but I also, there was, in the original objective, you talk about, like programs and initiatives. And I know that I wanted to add more like smaller scale things, like, individual classroom environments, like instructional things, not like these big grand large scale actions, like an initiative has to go across a district. It can also be the very effective, like small instructional things, like the collaboration between teachers in a certain school. That all contributes to success also. What? Oh, okay. I thought I'm like, I know we already do this, but I just,
No.
like the district already does this. I just want to make sure it's in there. And then also something that Val was getting to, adding, that consistency or like that equitable, right? All schools in our district get what they need, not everything just equal. Because that can look very different from Robertsville to Morrell or whatever. So that was number 2, I wrote equitable, but it might go also with like number 4 with the consistent thing. And then something I always focus on, right? And this might just be for, I don't know, luxury here, or, kind of superfluous, but number 3, adding for continuous improvement at the end. I think sometimes, we might try to make governance decisions or like policy updates based on our own specific values or, but it also has to do with the community and keeping it in a positive motion to bring our district to the best that it can be. So those were really for standard 1. Those were my comments.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yes.
For number 4, to piggyback on Val. So everything on 4 is the day-to-day, right? So the superintendent, we're overseeing, right? So the consistent manner is going to be the superintendent's consistent manner. He's going to determine what that looks like as a standard, and we're going to see that he implements it with all the ability. So we're not going to pick the consistent manner, I don't believe. Superintendent Balone is going to pick the consistent manner, and we're just going to oversee that it looks the same across all buildings and levels and grades like this says. That's my answer to that. I think that's what makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments on goal 1? All right, so moving on to goal 2, which is stakeholder engagement and communication. So again, same type of approach was applied here. Keep the board's focus on governance, policy, and oversight rather than operation. Strengthen accountability for the superintendent to ensure inclusivity in communication. Making community feedback a central driver of policy decisions. I mean, that's got to be as it should. We should be writing policy based on what's in the best interest of the district, but also based on what our community wants. Help to clarify the board's governance role to shift operational tasks to the superintendent or to his staff, and to ensure that there is, the transparency in all the communication that he does. Remove operational tasks such as scheduling communications or hosting events and posting minutes. That's not really what we do, although we have a communications committee that is working on some of that, but instead we should direct the superintendent to manage these functions while the board oversees the review. I want to make sure we think about emphasizing inclusive, consistent, and transparent communications, ensuring all stakeholders feel represented and engaged. whether they are members of our school community or not. They're still members of our town. Explicitly require the superintendent to provide regular updates on stakeholder engagement activities and feedback, which I think you do a lot of now in the context of your report outs. So thank you. And set the expectations that the board will now monitor community feedback and trends so that we can see how things are changing. Because the earlier conversation we had today with what was going on in 2022 versus what's going on in 2025, that's a good example of where we should see that there's trends in what our town is thinking, what our town is doing, or whether or not it's as local as something that occurred in the last 30, 60, or 90 days or the past school year. And then just require the board to continue to support the community engagement, through forums like this and through, workshops that we create as a result of the need of our community to be better engaged or better informed. So those are some of the changes that I made in the context of this language. Let me open it up now for conversation on this.
So, I really appreciate everything, 1, 3, and 4. I think it was very well written. Number 2, the entire kind of spirit of the rewrite, I feel is in direct opposition of the way that the board should be going, to kind of scratch things like our community chats, and scratch the wording to promote transparent, consistent communication and foster relationships with key stakeholders, students, families, teachers, and community members, and actively seek input and address concerns to collaborate on solutions to improve district-wide educational outcomes. That was our goal in 2024. What it is now in 2025 seems very authoritative and not community-driven. And I believe that as a board member, our role is to liaison with the community and to kind of bring back the spirit of the community as the vehicle from what our community is thinking. So to take away things like our community chats and our one-to-one communication with the community, which I know I personally value tremendously, I think that would be doing our board a disservice instead of, what we want to promote. I would have loved to see something in here about the advisory committee and what our role and goal is for that, because that committee has sat dormant, like I said, at the last meeting for about 9 months now. So I would have loved to see that kind of added in here somewhere. And whereas school events and forums and town halls and things of that nature are great, a coffee chat and a more kind of casual environment where our parents can feel comfortable talking to board members as if we're one of them, because we are, is something that I think was a really big asset to the board, and I really, really miss them this year.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Anyone else want to add?
Yes. Okay, so I had something on number 2 also. So monitor trends and feedback. I really just had, I guess, when it trickles down to the district level, I know it cascades from here to there. I'm eager to see what that would look like. It just feels, because we do get information, right, or we'll hear it, but what will actually the formal feedback look like that is being collected? How is that collected to then help us to guide policy review and priority setting? And I know that's not our piece to determine, but again, I get it, but I guess what will it look like? I did like on the former goal, just to Mrs. Belomo's point, targeted something. What are we gonna do to get back to be with the community? And number 3, I had, again, similar to what I said before, on an ... basis, right? How often will we review, maintain and review policies that ensure public access to board decisions, committee reports, and district initiatives? I'm really talking about the policy piece on a biannual, whatever it looks like. We should be targeting it so we don't leave everything and then we never actually hold ourselves accountable. So I'm on the policy committee from now until December, and then after that, my term is over. But I would just say for now, I would just like to, if I were here, I would like to hold us accountable to do that. And then the last piece on number 4 is support community engagement efforts by attending forums, town halls, and school events for us in the board's governance role. Great, because a lot of us do that. The only thing is how will we measure that we've done it at the end of the year? So we're not tracking it per se. And so I just want to say, we did a good job. We were there. Or maybe that's not important to everybody else, but I just want to make sure like it's trackable and that we were successful and that we did it. And I know we all go to different things, so not sure how to track that, but that's my only thought.
I think actually, just to that point, I think Mr. Malone and the district staff track it better than we do because they
Right, when they
actually
invite
know
us.
what we signed up for and what we appeared to.
Right, so if we're going to use that, I would just say, let's indicate.
Yeah, we can formalize
Right,
that.
formalize it a little bit, because I know Mr. Caravello or Mr. Balone invite us to things, and we'll write back and say, yeah, I'll be there. So I would just memorialize how it's trackable.
I think if we agree on the goals, that's the next step.
Yeah.
And I agree, we need to formalize. So these 4 goals, I'm in complete alignment with. I think they set the pace for the communications committee as well as the advisory committee. So I like how they're reframed and that we're supporting administration, but at the same time, opportunities for individual board members where possible to engage with the community. So I'm good. I think the next step is we've got to operationalize these and formalize some of these processes, set goals, set metrics, all those sort of things. So.
Okay. Any other comments on number 2? Ms. Carrero.
I wrote in some of my feedback. I actually addressed the thing with coffee chats, right? Because I'm like, should we be offering anything? I think some of those informal like events like in schools and stuff are probably one of the most important things to be present for, because I wonder where is everybody at the meeting if they want to see us, you know what I mean? And like talk to us, ask us questions, that type of engagement. So how can it kind of like trickle the other way, go back up, right? Like we start small to draw the audience, and then, you know, I think some of these ideas like coffee chats would be very effective at a larger level where we now have the engagement of a large population of the community. So that was just part of that. And then I also just wanted, it's something separate, but there has been, and I'll speak from my job, we started talking about like fostering this respect, and not saying that our district doesn't do it. I just want to kind of bring it to the forefront about it, like communications, especially about sensitive topics in the district, maybe a family going through an HIV or an IEP, if there is, and making sure it's consistent across schools. I know we can't control how everybody communicates, like via email or whatever, but perhaps maybe like tips or something stems to help foster that respectful communication. And then like not templated necessarily, but just like, and then also offer like status updates, which I know that I believe Mary Elizabeth was talking about earlier, or somebody was, about like updating things, but that was just part of that. And I thought it might be a good way to, in a way, train someone who maybe through email, you know, we all have different ways, and like how that comes off. So
I just want to, because that's an important point that you made about, you know, the communications and sensitive conversations. And I just want to see whether or not you can see it this way. The objective says ensure transparent, consistent, and inclusive communication between the district and stakeholders. Stakeholders meaning our families and people within, right? And maintain policies that foster productive engagement with students, families, staff, and the community. Now, I can see the maintain policies changing to maintain something that fosters that productive engagement with students, families, and staff in the community. But I see us sort of saying at a high level, we want this done, but our superintendent and his staff are obligated and responsible to making sure it happens correctly. And we could actually get back more information on how they're doing it, all right? But that would depend upon Mr. Balone and the staff to sort of do more regular updates, which I think are extremely important to us. How do you communicate this stuff? How do you deal with these sensitive topics? And that's what I'm getting at. Okay. So that becomes more of an issue for you than it is for us. I just want to make sure that you feel that that's being captured here, or is it not being captured? But you can, as all your suggestions, I'm trying to write them down as best I can. I may go back to listen to the video and try to capture there, but if you have specific language you would like to recommend to me, please send it, and I will try to weave it in so that it works with everyone's mindset. But for me to share this document out with you and have 9 editors, forget it. That would be hard.
No, and this is when I was first writing to you about that I'm like, are we a part of this conversation about how we communicate with each other and all of that? So that was part of my interpretation, but you have corrected that, and that's definitely what you were saying is what I was alluding to.
Great, thank you. Any other comments on number 2? Number 3, foster a safe and respectful school environment. All right. So here my suggested changes that I made were ensure again that the board stays in its oversight lane. It holds the administration accountable while, modeling leadership, shifts from developing and launching programs, because we don't do that, to overseeing policies and monitoring effectiveness. Clarify that the board supports and monitors initiatives rather than implementing them, and keep the focus on respect and recognition, framing the board's role. So that's sort of the overall comments. The comparison provided a little bit more detail back and forth. In our 2024 goal, we said we develop and enhance comprehensive policies and programs that address bullying, discrimination, and hate. In the 2025-26 goal, I used the language, ensure that district policies and programs and practices foster a safe, inclusive, and respectful learning environment, because it is all those things fall into that category. We don't, in the 24-25, we launched district-wide awareness campaign. In 25-26, it's Mr. Ballone who actually launches the campaign. We need to support and monitor the district's initiatives that raise this awareness, and those campaigns are part of it, like the Unity event that he does. Require regular reports from the administration evaluating effectiveness of these programs, and encouraging the integration of respect by recognizing school individuals and exemplifying those values, which we do in the context of our board agendas all this past year. We need to, as a board, participate more in professional development and regularly review ourselves. All right, and I know that this is extremely important, but it's not just about sort of, how do we learn more about the work that we do as board members, but how do we also work to be able to be more respectful, more understanding, better board members, better people ourselves amongst the work we do as a team. So those are some of the comments that I made in this particular case. Let me stop there and see if there's any feedback from our board members.
No shock. I'm going to have thoughts on each one, so don't be surprised. Okay, first one, so I agree with the whole spirit of it, and I like it. On number 1, I would just say review and revise, comma, if applicable, district policies related, because we may not have to. And all of these comments I'm making are holding us accountable to measure. That's all. That's why I'm saying it, because we have to be accountable too. And number 3, again, I just want to make sure that this is a measurable goal, however it's cascaded. So when it says require regular reports evaluating the effectiveness of programs, I know that we aren't running these programs or whatever it might be. So I would just say we might have to change that language. If it's not regular reports, what would those report, what kind of reporting do we have? So that was just my thought. My only other thing, I'm only going to say it, and don't kill me please, but I would add another one on number 6 about us as board members being role models. I'm just saying it. Leaders, respect for each other, respect in the community. We don't all have to get along. I say this all the time. We don't all have to get along, and we can have differing healthy opinions, but we are the board, and we should be the role model for a respectful environment.
I love it. Will you mind writing it?
I will write it, and I will send it to you, and you all can hate it. I just want to say that.
We should exemplify, as board members, we should be exemplifying the same level of respect and safe environment that we promote.
Right. Communication, respect for each other, respect in the community, all of those things. I'm not saying anything. I just want to say I'll draft something. You can all destroy it and change it, but I think that we should be the role models here as the board.
If there are multiple people who want to address something in this particular case, if you all send it to me, I will do as much as I can to sort of merge them together and come up with one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one comment I have, the first 3 are clearly related to HIB bullying, those sort of things. The fourth one sort of stands on its own. Frankly, I think it's just as important as code of conduct bullying. So if we're participating in board professional development on bullying discrimination, we should also participate in professional development on other things outside of that that are more positive. I think you can just integrate them. That's all.
You know, it's interesting, and Val, take a look at number 4 when you're thinking about this. Encourage the integration of respect, trustworthiness, responsitivity, positivity, and kindness into the work we do as a board and into district activities by recognizing schools and individuals.
Yeah.
It may be right there. Okay.
Maybe lead with that.
It's up, you know, we'll merge it in, we'll see what it does. Okay. Any other comments on this?
I don't.
Okay. That was number 3. Number 4, promote fiscal responsibility and resource allocation. Again, here, the goal remains substantially the same. There was not a lot of things to sort of suggest that we change here. Ensure district funds are allocated effectively. We don't ensure it. We are as oversights responsible for overseeing the responsible use of district funds. So that reflects our oversight role. Conduct budget transparency discussions in 24 and 25. Require the administration to provide these presentations and the opportunities for the community on their understanding, which we do. And they are very easy to understand and follow, so that's pretty much covers it. Performance data should be used. We should monitor the use of performance data and program evaluations in our resource allocation decisions, and again, we should encourage the pursuit of additional revenue streams. We cannot depend upon the taxpayers for everything, and we are in a zero-sum game because every year costs go up greater than our tax increase, and I can't imagine a year where, you know, we're ever going to be able to say we have a surplus because in a budgetary perspective. So we really need to encourage these other sources of revenue streams. So those were the changes that I sort of suggested. Let me stop there, and again, let me get feedback from anyone.
I only have one. I appreciate these bullets. On the fourth one, just as encourage the pursuit of additional revenue streams, grants, partnerships, et cetera. I would just say, I think we do, and Mr. Caravello, I know, does a lot of that already and looking for it. So I would just say buy. Like, what is the expectation of me? I encourage it. I appreciate when he does it. So I would just say to measure, what am I going to do, right? Like, I encourage it. Please find it, right? But is it encouraging it by looking for it, sharing my information? You know, and I don't want to get too in the weeds. That's just my thought. When I want to measure it at the end, I'm going to say, well, Mr. Caravello, you do a great job. You already do it. Thank you. I encourage you to do it more. So I would just maybe tweak the language to either add a buy or what else can I, what else could I do there? And I'm happy to tweak it to and send it to you.
That's okay. That's fine. You know, I can capture, encourage, support, identify, you know,
Yeah.
opportunities for additional revenue streams.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyone else on this? Okay, thank you. And then the last one is policy development. So in this particular case, again, I didn't see that there was a lot that I suggested to change. In 24 was create and enforce district policies that address current educational challenges. You know, I think the way I labeled it was to establish, create, review, and maintain policies that address the educational challenges. So, you know, in some cases, I just use the word establish. We want to make sure we review them. We want to make sure we maintain them. And then we don't, it's interesting, we don't enforce. We don't have an enforcement role in our policies, which is interesting, but I'll leave it there. Conduct frequent policy committee meetings, that remains the same. Require clear communication of new or revised policies to our community. Again, we have this role. I just want to make sure it's clear that we are required to provide these clear communications. Schedule the annual reviews with the with the board, and then establish accountability measures to monitor enforcement and require administration to address issues. So those were the changes that I suggested here in the comparison chart, and I'll stop there and, again, look for your feedback.
I had one on number 4.
Number 4?
Yep. So the establish accountability measures to monitor consistent enforcement. I had establish, and you had said maintain. So it is sometimes established. So I would say establish, maintain, and adhere to accountability measures of consistent enforcement. I only want to say the other thing, and it is tied to this a little bit and maybe not, but just food for thought, is a lot of the policies, to the point you raised, are gray. So example could be like, if they don't do this, it's up to the board president to decide what happens next. And so I don't love that it sits with one person. And so I would like to kind of look at that enforcement and create a little bit more enforcement or something when a policy is not adhered to. Now, by the way, I want to pause because there are policies that Code of Conduct has a very strict grid that is adhered to, so the staff does a good job, only from what I know. I can't speak to every incident because I don't know those. So I would just say adherence to policy is important. The other one I would only say is that number 3, schedule annual review of key policies to ensure ongoing relevance. As the committee right now, I would just say we'd have to determine what does that mean. Because at the end of the year, when I want to say, yeah, we reviewed key policies, what does that look like?
Well, that feeds into your comment at the beginning of this conversation about how often we look at policies.
Right.
Biannually,
Right.
semi-annually. That
Right.
feeds into that comment.
So maybe a key policy, I would just like for us to identify so that we could say, we did. What's a key policy look like for the board? Could it be things that are related to Code of Conduct, HIB? I'm just thinking of like some keys. So
we could sort of do it, that are aligned to board, a board's priorities.
right.
And those priorities could be identified at the onset of a new board year.
Right. Safety and security, right? So maybe if we just outline some key themes, at least so we can hold ourselves accountable.
Just 1 second.
Go ahead.
On that note, as we know, being on policy committee
Yeah.
before, there are so many policies. If we start saying, I'm going to look at all these first.
Right.
We're going to be,
Right.
the board sitting here 8,
You're
10
gonna be
years
in
from now is going to say,
policy
they didn't look at
limbo.
this for 10
Correct.
years. Why didn't they look at this
Correct.
policy for
So-
10 years? So how do you do that, but not miss the ones you don't look at for 10 years?
Right, exactly.
Which we saw, right?
And
Right.
then you
We
get
saw
to the-
that, yeah, but
And
there
then
were-
you get to the part where the board has said, we don't want to look at more than 3 policies
Right.
for first read and second read
Right, then we
every meeting,
modify
because
that.
we don't
Mhm.
have time to do any other work.
Right. So I just want to make sure we identify and give ourselves something to live to. That's all. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one? All right, well, thank you. This was very helpful. I will try to synthesize your feedback, and I will take your comments via email, please. Thank you. And we will have something on the agenda for next month's meeting. So this was great. Okay, back to our agenda. We are up to public comments. Mr. Carabello.
Sure. First up, Angelo Del Guidis.
Okay, I think now. All right, I'll step back, though. All right, so my name is Angela Delgaitis, 2 Old Scotts Road in Marlboro, New Jersey. I've been a resident in the town for more than 25 years. I currently sit on the Marlboro Educational Foundation as a trustee. We are having a fun event in November, and I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to let you all know, as well as seek some support. The event is going to be a casino night. It's going to be held at Eagle Oaks Golf and Country Club. In the past, the board and the community has supported us real well, and looking for the support here. Probably many of you are familiar with the Wizards event that we had this past April. It was a fantastic event. It was sold out. I'm seeking the same thing for this event coming up, as many of you will know what the Educational Foundation is about. I believe it's on your agenda tonight to recognize us. Every dollar that we raise goes back to the schools. It's a great thing that this foundation has done. It's been there for more than 20 years, has given a significant amount of money back to the community, and I'm hoping to, along with my colleagues, continue to do that and seek your support. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Caravello?
Sure. Next up is, I'm sorry if I mispronounced, Megan Chula? Chala, sorry.
I don't think I have to worry about the mic. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Challa. I live at 3 Jennifer Court. I recently moved to Marlboro a little over a year ago. I have 3 kids, so hectic life. My 2 are going into the school district for the first time, so just kind of wanted to get more involved. I just have a public comment, like, I guess, pro the using anatomically correct body parts and names for our kids. My background is a forensic nurse and a pediatric ER nurse, and just for the safety of our kids, I'm like very pro it. I know that it can be a very sensitive topic, and I really hope and encourage all parents to bring it up way before this. So I think it's amazing that like teachers can reinforce lessons that hopefully we as parents have been giving at home. The benefits are like quite significant. Just for the safety of our kids, but I just want to like thank Marlboro for like not backing down from it. I think it's like really good for our kids, and something that I am happy that my kids, I will obviously opt into when they're in 2nd grade. It's a conversation I've had with all 3 of them already, and it's not vulgar, it's just like educational. So thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Marlboro, and welcome to the Marlboro school system.
Thank you so much.
Sorry. I just want to thank you for coming and speaking in support of that. So thank you very much. It takes a lot. It's brave. So thank you. And you're absolutely right. There's nothing vulgar about it. I appreciate it.
Mr. Caravello?
Next up, Douglas Moore. Okay, Ashley McCormack.
Good evening, Ashley McCormack, 16 Riley Road. I just wanted to ask Mr. Bolin and the board, kind of publicly, transparently, if the county superintendent found accountability issue with the genitalia situation in 2nd grade, did he mention anything about masturbation being removed from 3rd, or anal and oral being removed from 5th and pushed up? Is that going to throw a red flag? Why didn't it throw a red flag? Are we going to expect this to come back next year or the year after? I mean, so I appreciate the default being opted out. I appreciate all the communication. I appreciate our phone call, Mr. Malone. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that this isn't kind of going to lead into reversing everything that happened in 22. Because I think there's a big difference between anatomy in 2nd and masturbation in 3rd. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Caravello?
I have no more on my list.
Yes. We're going to finish public comments, and then we'll have an opportunity to respond. So, good.
sorry, I didn't sign up, but I had a couple questions based on the conversation and the presentations. Which,
you
having
just-
public comments so
Would you
far.
just do me a favor, just state your name so.
Oh, I'm
for
sorry,
this-
Carrie Jankowski in Morganville.
Thank
Having public comments so far after presentations, I feel like I'm going back to beat a dead horse, and that's not my intention. The ELL presentation, I know there was a slide up there about ELL and IEP students. I'm just curious if those IEP students came into the district with an IEP, or they were classified during their time in ELL, or they had an IEP and then they took the ELL test. I'm just trying to see what the data is on having a child in ELL and then still considering them for services. The special education presentation, loved it, thank you. I just had a question about your BCBAs, because Ms. Gandhi asked a question about the BCBAs being there for all, what was it, 1,100 students? And I'm just wondering if the BCBAs are specifically IEP driven. So in order for a BCBA to come in and work specifically with a student, does that have to be in the IEP? Do they have to have a BIP? And I was assuming that the other students were more getting the school psychologist and not the services of a BCBA. So I'm just wondering, because there's a lot of paperwork that a BCBA has to do, a lot of work and effort go into creating a BIP. So I'm just wondering with how thin they're stretched, because I think somebody raised the point that having only 4, that's a lot of work if they're not solely there for IEP-driven students. So that was just, that was a question that I had. And then going back to the original discussion is more about the second grade curriculum. My daughter was in second grade last year. She didn't learn any of that. I didn't have to sign anything, so I'm assuming it wasn't taught. I just have a question more about CUSAC. So if I was to understand the conversation, CUSAC came in and they dinged us. They took off like a point or two, or however that works. We didn't get the report yet, I heard you say. But if nothing, my question is, if nothing in the curriculum changed and everything was still there, what did it look like when CUSAC came in? What alerted them that something was there but wasn't being done? So I'm just wondering what that conversation was. Was it lesson plans they were looking at and the teachers didn't have it in the lesson plan? Was it they didn't see the video in lesson plans? So I'm missing the step where it's in the curriculum, nothing has ever changed since 22. CUSAC came in, what alerted them that it wasn't being done? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Mr. Pollack.
Good evening, everybody. Adam Pollack, 52 St. Lawrence Way in Marlboro. So I am a staunch parental rights supporter. Parents should be involved and in lockstep with the school district's administration and school board in understanding the community needs and values. Parental rights is not just about any one individual's parental rights, but the rights of all parents in our community. Parental rights is not defined or owned by one value system or political affiliation. Every parent in our community has the same rights. We all have the right, but more importantly, the responsibility to be involved and understand what is happening in our district and to influence or impact the district to make sure the students are being given every opportunity to learn and grow with involvement from parents in our community. The superintendent, the administration, and the board have a responsibility to guide our curriculum and make sure the topics that are deemed important, age-appropriate, and promote development are taught to the students of the district. If the majority of our community feels that certain sensitive lessons require an opt-in by the parents for the material to be taught, the board and the administration should understand those concerns and align with the values of our community. So I'm proud that the current administration and the board are aligned with the values of our community. When a topic was identified as something that was deemed sensitive, the administration understood our community's values and made sure to require and opt in for that lesson to be taught. I'm one of the families that was affected by the lesson not being taught. I have a rising third grader who was not taught that lesson last year. I was not given the option to opt in. One could argue that any parent that wasn't given the right to opt in to that lesson was having their parental rights violated. So I appreciate the administration and the board making sure that everyone's parental rights are being protected. In my opinion, not everything is always a conspiracy. There is not always a political motivation for every decision that is made. We should have grace, respect, and understanding when dealing with our teachers, administrators, and board members, instead of thinking the worst about everyone's motivations or intentions. Parents have the right, but again, more importantly, the responsibility to act in a manner that mirrors the values we are all trying to nurture and support within our own children, the students of this district. Let's remember that. Thanks again to the board and the administration for supporting my parental rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pollack. Any other comments? Anyone else want to come to the mic? Seeing no one else, motion to close public comments. Ms. Gandhi, second. Ms. Mendez, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, I know that there were some things that were raised during public comments that we want to respond to. So I will go back and look at the notes. So Mr. Ballone, you kept notes on this and you want to respond back to some of them?
Yeah, it looks like there were two comments that are really, that I can respond to. One was Mrs. McCormack. So the 8th grade standards, nothing was removed from those 8th grade standards. So I think you had mentioned that the 3 types of sex were removed. They were not, right? There's an opt-in, opt-out for that. The parenthetical term that you mentioned initially was removed, and that was permissible because that was not part of the standard. It was an example that the State Department of Ed, and I'm actually proud to report that my question prompted the state to reach out to 600 school districts in New Jersey to allow them to remove that term. So it didn't change the standard. I asked the county, well, I told the county that that's not part of the standard, it's just an example, and they went out with a blanket email to say, you are permitted to remove any parenthetical because it's not really part of the standard, it was just an example. So we did remove it. I checked before, and then not only did I check before, but they went out to 600 school districts and said that that was allowable. So I think that answers all of your questions. Mrs. Jankowski, the crux of your question was what alerted, what was the alert in the CUSAC process to have the county say we were not in compliance? I'm not sure if you were here when I spoke earlier, but I did mention it, but I'll repeat it. So there are 3 sections of our curriculum guides. The 2 columns, there's a left column and a middle column. That is state language that really doesn't change by us when we create curriculum guides. What does change is that 3rd column, which is entitled Classroom Applications. So the way our current classroom applications reads is the same as it read in 2022. It includes body parts, does not include genitals. So when the county came in for their curriculum review, they looked at our listed body parts and they did not include the genitals. That's where the question was raised, and that's where we made our correction.
Thank you. And do you want to respond back on the ELL or on the special ed, the BCBA?
Yeah. So Yeah, the Access for L's presentation, I don't have the answer for you right now, but I can get that for you. So essentially, did the students enter our school district with an IEP? Mrs. Sturcho, you have that information.
Well, I can round out.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So this is something I'm actually really passionate about. I love the ELLs and special education. There's an overclassification going on right now with ELLs because if your program is not that strong in your ELL program, then the push is for the special education because that's where this child is getting services. So the biggest thing for us is to really decipher and understand whether it is the language, the home native language, or if it is a learning disability. It does take a lot of information to gather, but what we've been doing is gathering as much as we can, really looking through it, comparing their access scores from year to year to see if there is growth, because typically with somebody who has a disability, there would be minimal growth. So that's something we've been looking at closely, but there is an overclassification of ELLs. I can say that I know that students do come here without an IEP and do get IEPs and get services, so we have found students that also are in need of special education, but we really do try and sift through as best as we can, working with Mrs. George and working with Mrs. Gross, like what that looks like, because that is honestly one of the most trickiest things in special education with students, with ELL students. So that's kind of something we've been really working a lot on, and I think that our child study team had a lot of questions, and we've kind of been, at least for the past 2 years, talking a lot through with administration, because as our population grows here, we in special education really need to learn more about ELLs as well. So that's kind of been something that we've been passionately working on. Again, special education teachers don't know how to teach the ELL population because that's not their background. So that's kind of been what's really hard is you know, you're looking at a service from a special education teacher, but that's not necessarily what they know. But services from a special education teacher who somebody's struggling in a classroom just looks like, well, they can service them, but that's not necessarily what helps the child. So that's kind of what we've been doing. So I know students can get underclassified depending on the district and overclassified depending on the district. So that's something we've been looking at. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Can you also just sort of respond if you haven't, if you can, on the BCBA? Thank you.
Okay. So for BCBAs, it is IEP driven. For a BCBA to work with a child, work one-on-one with the child, we need consent from a parent. So that all the parent knows all that information. The FBAs are very in-depth functional behavioral assessments that happen on the child to figure out what the function of the behavior is. So they do a lot of paperwork. So they really are only with our special ed population that needs it. And if there is a student that happens to be maybe in a 504, maybe, but really it mostly is our special education population that has it. So we have them in 4 buildings, but the general education population does not utilize the BCBA. That more is the school psychologist, and if it comes to more of a behavioral need, then sometimes it does come our way, but there's other avenues that we hit before we go to the BCBA. So the BCBA really, I do feel like we're good with the BCBA because I do feel like their caseloads are very manageable, and I think that they are doing what they're supposed to do instead of just being somebody that puts out fires. But I do understand, like, there are districts I know that use a BCBA in a general education setting to kind of just deal with behaviors in general. We do not. Did that answer it?
Yeah, it was just like making a point that the BCBAs don't work with all special ed kids either.
No, they don't. So it's really IEP driven if for a specific behavioral need.
Because then they're just utilized for putting out fires and not being consistent and managing the antecedents
Yes.
before.
And I think that's why we can say that ours are very program-based and they're proactive, and I think that's because the way we set it up is that they are for specific students who need it. And some are program-based in the sense of being in the program. Like our BCBA in the autism program, we automatically have the consent from all the parents because it's a part of that program. And she oversees a lot that happens within the classroom with working with the teacher. So that is a little different. But specifically, if it has to be in an IEP for a child to even get consultation from BCBA.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We are going to move on to...
Can I please make a statement
Yes.
or comment, if you don't mind? Sorry. I just wanted to clarify, because Mr. Pollack had some good information or feedback that he shared, and I want to make sure at least that I understood it and that we addressed it briefly. So Mr. Pollack had stated, and Mr. Pollack, please come up and say if I've said anything incorrect, 'cause I was trying to like mentally take a note. You had said that you felt like your parental rights were violated last year. And so I just want to go back to that. In 22, as was stated before, I'm not sure if you were here yet, the actual right of a parent, whether they were opting in or opting out, was actually added. So prior to that, that option was not there, but they could contest it through policy and removal from the program. The second thing, though, is the order of events. So in listening to the 62 or 65%, forgive me, I don't have the number, that came after the fact. So the standard was added to the lesson based on, and please correct me if I'm wrong, based on the feedback from the county superintendent. We only got the data when parents were then opting in or out and making the decision. So it wasn't that they listened, that anybody listened and then made the change. The change came from direction of the county superintendent. And so I just want to clarify that, because if a parent or family member or guardian feels that something was violated, it should absolutely be escalated. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that you don't feel that way now, you feel heard, but that heard part came after the direction came. I just wanted to make sure, Mr. Pollack, please clarify for me. I don't want you to feel that way, and so.
So I just want to be sensitive to the fact that this is not traditional.
Well, if he has,
We
oh, I'm sorry, you
we
closed
close
it.
public comments, so generally we don't.
My
generally do
apologies,
this.
Mr. Pollack, so
So-
we'll have to email. You can email.
Out of respect for the process, if I do this for you, then I do this
No,
for everyone.
I agree. My apologies, I
So-
asked you, I told you to weigh in, so I'm
I got
sorry.
to be the parliamentarian here.
No, he's right.
I also
He's
don't
right.
want to make you sit here and wait till the last second of our meeting to sort of have a second round of comments. But I would suggest if you want to sort of.
Yes, I'll
get
come to
together,
you after.
that
You
would
give
be
me
very
your
helpful.
feedback.
But, Mr. Pollack, without having to have the need to respond, I just want to say thank you for coming to the mic and saying what you said. You offered a perspective that was shared that, while we don't know what percentage of people share that perspective, you brought to the microphone a point that was helpful for us. And, that's what the purpose of these meetings are for the community to get out there and inform the board. So thank you for doing that.
And what I appreciate that Mr. Balloon gave us was the data. So I know as we're doing the goals, I appreciated the numbers to have fact to help us drive decision-making. So I thank
he'll
you for
give us
that.
some more data.
Absolutely. So thank you, Mr. Pollack. I'll catch you after.
Okay. Any other board comments before we move on? Okay. We are up to, my eyes are going on me, communications. Nope.
I have none.
Okay. Harassment, intimidation, and bullying, HIB?
Yes, this report is from July 17, 2025 through August 20th, 2025. There were 0 incidents reported.
Thank you. Meeting dates. I'm going to make a modification to our meeting dates since we had a conversation about this earlier. Our next meeting is Tuesday, September 16th. That'll be a regular board meeting. Our Tuesday, October 14th, 2025 meeting is going to be a workshop identified to address the referendum. And then our meeting after that, which is not reflected on this agenda, will be Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, which will also be a regular board meeting. And those will be reflected in the notes as well as at the next agenda. I'm moving on to a review, approval of our minutes. I'll move for a adoption of the minutes for both the regular and executive session for July 22, 2025. Can I have a second? Mr. Hayek. We need a roll call on this?
Yes.
Any discussion? Thank you.
Mr. Alansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Palomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Moving along to Secretary and Business Administrator's report, Mr. Carabello.
So this is the submission for the Secretary's monthly certification and payroll certification for the month ending July 2025.
Thank you. Committee reports. Advisory Committee is first. Ms. Mendez.
I'll keep it quick. The advisory committee met yesterday. We reviewed an application, not really an application, we're calling it advisor interest form. So we're going to be looking for people that are interested in the community of being an advisor when it comes to the referendum. And so Mr. Hyatt, as part of his role of communications, drafted a variety of communications that would go out from the district to families, that would go out from the township, looking for people that are interested in being an advisor. So Mr. Balone is going to send an email to families on behalf of looking for anybody who's interested in being an advisor on September 8th. Marlboro Township will send one on September 5th, right, to make sure that you can get the whole community and not just families that are in our schools. There's actually the advisor interest form is actually out there now. The link is live on the referendum site. So there's a section for the referendum. And if anybody is interested in being an advisor, there is some criteria. You'll answer a variety of questions that are in there about yourself, your background, what you're interested in, what you can bring to the table. That is already live. And so it went out there. And just a reminder to our committee chairs that are here, if you feel the need that you need some advisors, that would be great. Just feel free to reach out to the committee and we will work on that for you as well.
Thank you. And I just want to add, I think, and Mr. Hyatt, you can probably validate this for me, when advisor information forms are completed, then the full board will be aware of it and have ability to access that information as well.
Yeah, we got the form live today, I believe. It's linked to a Google Sheet that anytime someone signs up to be an advisor, that she will be updated. I will set alerts for that so the full board knows anytime an advisor signs up. You have access to that on a real-time basis is the goal. If we can make it work. If not, I'll forward those emails as soon as they come in.
Great. Thank you.
I'll just add to the advisory that since there's no committee to send referendum people to, we'll be sending our advisors once we pick them to Mr. Caravello, because he's going to coordinate with the referendum group. He's leading that. So
he is the committee.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Curriculum committee, I know Dr. Miskowitz is not here today. Does someone have a curriculum committee update?
You skipped over communications.
Oh, I am sorry.
That was a perfect segue.
That's what happens when my eyes reach 10 o'clock. Communications, Mr. Hyatt.
So yeah, we need advisors for the referendum. We met last week. We focused most of our energy on getting the communications done for recruiting advisors, as well as making sure the administration, Mr. Caravello, Mr. Blown, had what they need in terms of the communications rolling out for the referendum. So that was our 99% of our focus last week. But we did meet. We all agreed on the communications approach, which Ms. Mendez outlined pretty clearly. So that's where we are.
Thank you. All right, go back to curriculum. Does anyone have a curriculum update? Okay, so we're going to put that on hold for till next meeting. Policy committee, Ms. Gandhi.
So the policy committee has met several times over the last probably 2 months at least to go over specific policies, especially the ones that have come in through Strauss-Esme to make updates. We're trying to schedule a meeting again for either this week or next week so that we can have some policies, especially, I can't remember the policy number right now. The one that we talked about, policy 2135 from Strauss-Esme. Which was it?
You got to talk into the microphone.
I think it was like 235.
235 is the most recent.
So the most recent policy, 235, we received that in July from Strauss-Esme. So we're going to meet as a policy committee to go over that and some other that have been in discussion, like I said, for several meetings over the last 2 months.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the policy? No. And then we are up to safety and security.
Sure.
Mr. Lulansky.
Sure. Safety and Security Committee met. We started off with a recap of the safety walkthrough that took place with Dr. Gambino. Once again, I cannot speak enough about the level of knowledge that Dr. Gambino brings. This gentleman is an encyclopedia of school safety, and I can say that our students and staff will be even safer due to some of his recommendations. We also reviewed the updated lobby guard system with its updated database. There will also be updated procedures for frequent flyers entering our buildings where you can sign in with your mobile device and show that device to security monitor to enter. More about that from administration. We'll be sending out that information as it becomes available. So if you're attending an event during the day, and a lot of parents tend to show up at once with something, they can now, in their cars, use their mobile device to pre-sign, show that to, am I saying it correctly, right? Show that to the security monitor when they enter the building, which makes it a lot easier. There won't be that line at the kiosk. And the same thing happens, that would have happened if you're at the kiosk as far as the background check and all that kind of stuff happens. The rest of whatever happens, I'll be reporting back to an executive session. That's about what I could talk about in public, so that's it for now.
Thank you, Mr. Lolansky. Any other comments on safety and security? Thank you. Special Education Committee, again, Dr. Miskowitz is not here today. You have something? Thank you, Ms. Gandhi.
So Dr. Miskowitz put this together and sent it to me to read. It's a little bit long, but it has a lot of really good detail in here. So we want to commend Ellie Mortar on a wonderful ESY program.
Ms. Gandhi, you have to channel Dr. Miskowitz when you do this.
I'm not a net. I'm not that good, but I'll try. We want Miss Sturt. I can't say the last name.
Sturcio.
Ms. Sturcio took Mrs. Carrero and Dr. Miskowitz on a tour of the building to see the program in action. This year, ESY was housed at Dugan Elementary. The logistics for the change must have been mind-boggling at first, but somehow Mrs. Mortar and Ms. Sturcio pulled it off, and the program went on without any problems. At our July 24th committee meeting, we focused on strengthening and streamlining the response to intervention process to make it clear, consistent, and effective across the district. Mrs. Morgan Gross, who oversees RTI, joined us to explain how RTI connects with IEPs and 504 plans. She collaborates with Ms. Sturcio, Director of Special Services, to ensure these systems work together to support students. RTI, which is the response to intervention, provides targeted academic and behavioral support for students. Under the encouragement and direction from Mrs. Gandhi and Dr. Miskowitz, and with input from admin as well as the Special Education Committee, the RTI process will be updated to involve parents from the RTI, from the time RTI is initiated, include them in all meetings where progress is discussed and until the child either exits or requires further referral services. Monitor students even after they exit RTI support, standardize procedures across all schools, better aligned with special educational services. These updates reflect a collaborative effort to ensure students get the right support at the right time and that families and staff have a process that is clear, consistent, and easy to navigate. Our committee meeting provided an update on ESY, highlighting successful events such as the Scope Ice Cream Truck Visit, CPAC Spirit Week, and the Robertsville Fire Department Water Play Day. The administration sent out a survey to all ESY families to gather input for planning the 2026 program. While ESY is going on, the Child Study team has been busy throughout the summer conducting evaluations and preparing transfer students for the upcoming school year. Other staff working on providing additional resources and assessments to enhance the curricula, which had previously been approved by the board. Is this a? No, okay. Plans were also shared regarding the presentation, which we saw at today's meeting, which, as you saw, included an overview of district programs and related services. Summer packets were distributed to parents, which included case manager letters, Scope CPAC flyers, and additional department information. Committee dates for 2025-2026 are being scheduled for October, January, and March and June, along with 2 joint meetings that will include CPAC and Scope. Additionally, NJDOE is seeking stakeholder feedback on the special education administrative code that you heard Ms. Sturcio just present to us. So this was a very long meeting, but very productive. We got through a lot, and I also just want to take a minute to thank Mrs. Gross for making herself available and to kind of meet with us so we could collaborate on some of these things that were just brought to light. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is the Technology Committee. Mr. Ballone, you want to talk about the technology plan or technology strategy?
Yes, I guess technically the Technology Committee is a committee of the whole, right?
Correct.
So, something germane to that committee is the technology plan, which I submitted to all of you. It's our 3-year plan. goes from 2025 through 2028. Of course, it's a living document. Things can change right over the course of even this year or the next 3 years. I would like to just acknowledge our district administrative team who provided input, which is on your page 3 of that report. In addition, I met with community members, parents, staff, and the plan is to also speak with students. I did do that 2 years ago, which somewhat helped inform this, but I also will be doing that this year as well. So that's why it'll be a living document. We developed a district mission, and I'll just summarize that for you with respect to this plan. MTPS embraces the critical role of technology in enhancing teaching and learning through the integration of emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, promotion of digital citizenship, and maintenance of secure and efficient digital systems. Equitable access to personalized learning opportunities is ensured, inspiring innovation and critical thinking. We will also have ongoing professional development, continuous program evaluation, and active collaboration with the entire school community with respect to our technology plan. We also devised some technology goal statements within the report, a needs assessment, and then the bulk of this plan derives itself from our fairly new policy 8100, which is the district technology strategy. And I believe there are 14 points, if my memory serves me correctly. Yes, 14 components of the district technology strategy, which outlines things like instructional technology, technology support and staffing, special ed, and accessibility, digital curriculum, infrastructure and network security, device management, data privacy, security, administrative technology, parent and community engagement, disaster recovery, financial sustainability, policy and governance, professional development, and statement or indicators of success. I think we hit all of those items. I think it's something important to note. Artificial intelligence weaves throughout this plan, but you should know that we also did we did extensive work over this summer with respect to artificial intelligence in and of itself. So we have a separate document. Once it's fully fleshed out, which it's pretty much there, it's about 90% there. Again, I will be meeting with our admin kickoff. It starts tomorrow with the entire administrative team and is essentially a two-day meeting with the administrators. So we're going to pull together all of the work that was done over the summer with respect to artificial intelligence, create a succinct document, just some highlights from that document that you will see in the future. We have artificial intelligence goal statements specific just to AI, right? It's hard to, the 3-year technology plan is sort of a big overarching piece, but there are other things that fall within it. So artificial intelligence being one of them. We have student will statements for K2, 3, 5, and 6 through 8. We also have the roles and uses of AI for educators. There's a whole section on that. There is an entire section entitled Considerations for Parents and Guardians. Examples of professional development topics over the course of the 3 years, which aligns into our technology plan. Suggested topics for parent and guardian information, again, for the next 3 years. And again, that will be updated as things change. With AI, things change by the hour. So by tomorrow, there will be something new. So we'll continue to change that or update that. And there's a section here. Oh, that's parent guardian information. So what is AI? AI at school versus AI at home. What does that look like? Setting boundaries, healthy AI use at home. Protecting privacy, which is an important piece with AI, and our students need to understand that, and even our parents. AI and digital literacy. Raising critical thinkers in an AI world. What does that look like? AI in the real world. So those are just some of the highlights from, so the technology plan you can think of as our big overarching piece. And then under that, we have very specific things like artificial intelligence. We have our digital tools, but we have a separate document on artificial intelligence, which is just about there. But we have just a few more meetings and stakeholders to consult.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? Oh, did you want to say something? Please.
Just a quick comment or question. And so first, on the AI plan, let me comment first. I appreciate the fact that you recognize that the technology plan is living and breathing document because technology is changing so fast, right? And the use of it is changing even faster. Will the AI document that you referenced just now, will that become an appendix and a part of the overall plan, or will it sit as a separate document?
It probably, I guess it could. Yeah, it probably could become an appendix or a linked reference if it's digital, but we certainly can do that if that's something. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I personally would like that because our policy 8100 doesn't require board approval of the plan, but it does require board adoption. Mm-hmm. So I think that being incorporated into it means it'll come back to the board and we get an opportunity to adopt it. And then I appreciated the fact that you had instructional technology goals. As you move through the evolution of the plan, it'd be great if we also see some administrative technology tools so that it recognizes the importance of how technology could enhance productivity within the administration, as well as the goals to sort of maintain and keep your technology fresh for staff as well. And then my other comment was on policy and governance, which is number 12. One of the things in the policy 8100 is that we wanted to make sure that if there were any policies that were needed or missing, that those recommendations would come forward from the administration as you go through this process. So I would hope that as you continue to develop, enhance, as well as the AI, if there are policies that you need or that are missing, or things that are missing from our current policies, consistent with our board goals, that you'll bring those forward, and then we as a policy committee and we as a board can begin to sort of address them. Those were my comments. Ms. Mendez.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, Brian, because I had a couple of thoughts. So first of all, thank you for sharing the robust technology plan with us in advance. I appreciated reading that. And I guess what you're reading, you'll share with us, because I think to Mr. Cohen's point, that was some questions I had. So you have it mapped out of like, great, I love the overview, and now like the how, where's the budget? What does that fall into this 3-year plan of like how we're gonna vote and approve and kind of bring this technology into the district at some point? Is it on the roadmap, I guess? And I think there were some components in there. I appreciated the professional development piece, so thank you. That was super important to have in there too. And so I guess just seeing that, whatever you were reading sounds robust to me, so I appreciate that. The other thing is we did have that AI policy, Ryan, that we started at some point, so we could absolutely work with Mr. Balone and take a look at that one too. But I thank you for sending that information to us.
I almost want to suggest that when we get to the point where we have to think about an AI policy, we think about it being more of an innovation policy than an AI policy, because it's AI today, it's something else tomorrow. So we really should be thinking forward, not necessarily at the moment. Mr. Lewanski.
It's all great stuff, Mike. So at what point are we going to nurture the public? Because there's going to come a time when the parents are going to say, I didn't know they were doing this, and I didn't know my kid could use AI service to do homework. Oh, he's using it, can he? As this living document grows and gets legs, at some point I think we're going to need either an informational night at middle school, or where you're going to let the public know this is where we're at, this is where we're going, and we see your child using ChatGPT, it's okay, or they shouldn't be. They should be using this.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think you can look back at prior board meetings, and I remember saying very early on that I support the use of artificial intelligence, but we just need to make sure that it's done appropriately, by grade level, safely, right? Privacy, all of those things that are included. But I agree with you. We will go out with a formal announcement, if you will, to our school community and our parents so they understand our stance. So those who haven't been watching these meetings, we'll get to them and we'll let them know what it looks like.
I think it's a great idea for future orientation nights when school starts up. It's a great opportunity for a future board workshop where it's just about technology. I think the more we educate our community and our parents and our students on this technology, the better we are at sort of dispelling myths and also sort of encouraging the growth and use of it within the classrooms.
Right, because some people, it's a scary topic, but when you walk them through it, they get it.
Yeah, no, there was a horrible story on the news this morning about the use of AI, and, you know, one of the AI tools that we all like to sort of refer to, and it was a terrible story, and that story in itself could create fear amongst parents on the use of that tool and their children having access to it. So I think it's very important that we sort of do this ethically and responsibly. Okay, we're on to our next topic, financial and business operation matters. Mrs. Bellomo, would you like to read that?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, transfers. 2, list of bills. 3, travel. 4, harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report. 6, resolution to increase the bid threshold. 7, approval of agreement, NJCBVI for blindness education services during the 25-26 school year. 8, approval of 25-26 school year coordinated transportation routes with MOESC. 9, approval of shared service agreements, MOESC 25-26 school year transportation services. 10, approval of ESEA allocations for the 25-26 school year. 11, home instruction. 12, approval of agreement, Summit Speech School. 13, amended resolution, approval of agreement, All Care Therapy Services, LLC, ESY, Summer Occupational Therapy Services. 14, authorization to accept financial bid. 15, memorandum of agreement, Marlboro Township Operational Administrators Association. 16, recognition of educational foundation. 17, approval of agreement, Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, Master Collaborative Educational Service Agreement. 18, state contract purchases. I so move.
Thank you. I just want to, only because I may have not heard it, but I just want to go back and just make sure we put down number 5, acknowledgement of travel dollars spent in 24-25 school year. I didn't hear the number, and that just may have been me. So I just want to make sure for the record we have that in this motion.
We're moving numbers 1 through 18.
1 through 18. Could I have a second, please? Ms. Gandhi? Any discussions on this?
I had a question on number 8 for the MOESC. I know that we had last year or the year before, we had sent like notices home to families that were impacted. And I don't want to say impacted, right? It's an additional shared service. It's not our standard busing. And I think this was, if you can remind me, because we needed some additional support for our bus routes, correct? Is this because we still need that additional support that we're still partnering with MOESC? And are those parents contacted? I was one at one point who got a notice in the mail that my child would be on this bus. Is that still the same process here? And if you don't have the answer now, it's okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, we have to follow up with transportation, but we still need them because we don't have enough drivers.
Okay.
But as far as them being contacted, I know my office didn't do that, so I'd have to follow up with transportation if that happened, or the building level did it.
Okay. It was helpful. I know some people some families found this to be helpful. I did. I got a letter in the mail, and it just told me that I would be on this bus route, so thank you for that. Any improvement here on bus drivers that eventually we would get, we wouldn't need this?
We're hiring 2.
I saw that.
So our new transportation supervisor and our new assistant supervisor has a plan to try to bring these back in before the end of the school year. We just have to keep doing what we're doing and attracting more drivers, but there's 2 on the agenda to be approved for new ones.
Thank you. I was just looking at the dollar amount, so bringing it back would be helpful to us.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Did those 2 new drivers that we're going to approve in a few moments, they reduce the number of MOS Thank you. Did they reduce the number? I see we have 3 here. Did that reduce it?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So the impact is coming.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or discussions? Before we take a vote, I just want to remind our board members who are on item number 3 that if your name is listed, please abstain for where your name is listed in the travel section. We've been moved by and seconded, so Mr. Caravello, we're ready for a roll call.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Alansky?
Standing for number 3 in my name, yes to everything else.
Thank you. Mrs. Mendez?
Yes, everything except abstaining from my own travel.
Okay. Mrs. Carrero?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Gandhi?
So under 3, under board number 2, I'm abstaining from that, but yes to everything else.
Okay. Mrs. Palomo?
Yes to all, abstain from my own travel.
Thank you. And Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Okay, moving on to curriculum matters. Ms. Carrero, would you read curriculum matters? It's page 11.
Thank you. All right. Curriculum matters. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. Field trip list to district technology plan 2025 to 2028. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Ms. Mendez, any discussions on the items in the curriculum matters? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Caravello, we're ready for roll call.
Mrs. Gandhi?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Alansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Palomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Moving on to personnel matters, that's on page 12. Ms. Gandhi, would you do that, please?
Personnel matters. 1, resignations. 2, employment certificated staff. 3, employment part-time certificated staff. 4, employment instructional assistant. 5, employment kindergarten basic skills instructional assistant. 6, employment school aides. 7, employment bus drivers. 8, employment bus attendant. 9, employment mechanic. 10, amended hours school aide. 11, transfer certificated staff. 12, transfer non-certificated staff. 13, reassignment certificated staff. 14, reassignments and amended salaries, non-certificated staff. 15, reassignment, transfer, and amended salary, non-certificated staff. 16, extracurricular activities advisor. 17, amended extracurricular activities advisor. 18, CPR first aid training. 19, assistance after-school activities. 20, teachers' summer IEP meetings. 21, stipend continuation of program for provisional teachers. 22, stipend mentor teachers. 23, mentor induction. 24, student practicum. 25, substitute rates teachers. 26, substitute rates school nurse. 27, substitute rates non-certificated positions. 28, substitute rates bus drivers and bus attendants. 29, substitute teachers. 30, substitute school nurse. 31, substitute bus driver. 32, substitute bus attendant. 33, substitute soundboard and lighting technician. 34, substitute head custodian. 35, paid medical disability leaves. 36, unpaid leaves of absence. 37, amended resolution leave dates.
38's on page
Oh,
30.
38, job description. I so move.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mr. Lolansky, thank you. And any discussions on items in this particular section?
So just for...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go.
Just for Item number 12, just a correction on 2 employees and where they're relocating. So at the bottom of page 16, Jessica Mayer, instead of Asher Holmes, it's going to be Robertsville Elementary School. The bottom of page 16.
Got it. And it's going to be, you said,
Robertsville Elementary instead of Asher Holmes.
thank you.
And then on page 17, I want to say from the bottom, the fourth one up, Alexandra Sefrin is actually going to be going to Asher, not Robertsville. And that's it.
Thank you.
I had a question for number 38. Appreciate sending the description over to us of the role and responsibility. And then this, I just want to be clear on what I'm voting for number 38. Is it right now that I'm voting for the addition of this position, or am I voting for that it exists, or am I voting for the person, like a name?
So just the job description.
Just the job
itself.
description is all I'm voting for. That's what I thought. And then in the future, you'll have the hire and the salary.
Correct, yeah.
Do we have a forecast of that today, of where that would be, of what that salary range would be?
I believe the posting said, because I think we're required by law now, I think the posting said anything between 50 to 60, because we're going to be merging 2 positions together.
Okay, because I was just wondering, like, I read the job description, so thank you for that. The ROI, so like, what's going to happen with this role after?
Yeah, our goal is to merge the registrar and dispatcher position together, because right now the dispatcher is part-time and the registrar is full-time, just to create some consistency in that office, but also it'll be a larger role, so the other 2 positions will not be filled because it'll be merged into one.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
And these are all funded. They were in the budget. They were already accommodated in the budget. It's not like we're asking for a new position. It's an existing position.
Correct. We have a certain of salary amount that we're required to work with in the position control roster when we submit it with the budget, and so we're staying within that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Caravello, just, I want to make sure we're actually saving money with this plan, correct, in the overall transportation budget?
We are in salaries.
Right, that's where my question was, like, where's the differentiation of what we have today versus where we're going to be? So there won't be any addition to
Yeah, because we saw an
this.
increase in the supervisor salary previous to what it was last year, but our job is to stay within the budgetary constraints, so we're just creatively thinking how to make that office as efficient as possible, but also either saving money salary-wise or staying within that realm of what we budgeted for.
Thank you.
And then I just want to recognize the fact that I think it's great that we have, on item number 7, 2 new bus drivers. We've had challenges with that, and I understand that you were able to achieve that even with the without having the opportunity to sort of offer the incentive programs that we had talked about in the past that we're not able to sort of provide. And then you shared with me, Mr. Caravello, that under item number 9, we are now fully staffed with our mechanics.
Yes, so we, for the first time in about a year or a year and a half, we have 3 staffed mechanics now.
That's great. So our buses are going to run smooth. That's great. All right. Any other discussions? Let's move on to a roll call, please.
Mrs. Mendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Palomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Lolansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Moving on to policy development and community relations. Ms. Mendez, would you read the item?
Sure. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. 1, second reading for policy 5200, attendance. I so move.
Thank you. Any discussions on policy number 5200 or on the second reading? Seeing no discussions, Mr. Caravello, can I have a second? Mr. Lolansky. He's getting there, but thank you. You got me there. Mr. Caravello, first and second, and no discussion, please. Let's have a roll call.
Mrs. Palomo?
No.
Mrs. Carrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Gandhi?
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Lolansky?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
and Mr. Cohen.
Yes. Okay, we're up to liaison reports. I understand that it's a late hour, and if you have reports, by all means, please feel free to share them. So the first one up is Freehold Regional High School District, and Abbott and Ms. Mendez, I think you indicated that you had Ms. Seawarts.
Yes. For Freehold Regional, Mr. Messinger said that the next meeting will be August 27th, so that's his update. For Abbott, they said lots going on as we approach the start of the year. Custodial staff have done a great job cleaning and making necessary repairs to the building. The school looks great. Secretaries have been busy organizing staff materials and assisting new families with any questions that they may have. Quite a few staff have been in to prepare their rooms for the new year. We are ready to go. We held an orientation for parents of our preschoolers today and look forward to kindergarten orientation next week. It is such an exciting time for our little ones that are just starting their educational journey.
Thank you. Marlboro Education Foundation and Dugan. Ms. Gandhi?
I pulled it up. Oops. Do you want to go to somebody else really quickly? I'm going to pull it up in here.
Sure.
Thanks.
Let's go to Marlboro Township and Marlboro Middle School. Mr. Lewandowski.
From Lynn and Stephen at the Township, the Marlboro Farmers Market is open this and every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Follow them on social media at Marlboro Farmers Market for updates. Marlboro Day, Sunday, September 7th, from noon to 5 p.m. Vendors, food trucks, entertainment, inflatables, and more. On this year's recreational programs, the fall soccer youth, travel basketball, swim club, and more. Monmouth County Library book donations. The Marlboro branch of the Monmouth County Library is now accepting book donations. Please bring them your gently used books to the circulation desk during open hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday 1 to 5, Saturday 9 to 1, through Labor Day, then 9 to 5. Please note they cannot accept textbooks, encyclopedias, or dictionaries. The Patriot Day Ceremony. Township's annual Patriot Day Ceremony will be held September 11th at 8:30 at our 9/11 Memorial access off the recreational parking lot. All are welcome as they honor and remember the 14 families and all those lost in the tragedies of September 11th. From Principal Nowalki at Marlboro Middle, welcome back to staff, students, and families. The excitement of beginning the new school year was surely felt during the open house days last week. It was wonderful to see the incoming students and their families fill the halls of middle school. Special shout out to the PTO who stole spiritware and welcome families to our school, and to alumni who returned to help open lockers and provide directions to the new students. Yearbook Pictures Day is set for September 9th. The first PTO meeting is scheduled for September 16th, and Back to School Night is set for September 17th. Stay tuned for more information that will be sent to families through email. And for Lauren and the PTO as well, welcome back staff. Will take place on Wednesday, September 3rd. Looking forward to welcoming them all back. PTO membership for the new school year is now open. Join us or renew your dues for the 25-26 school year. Again, Spiritware, the new school year is out now. Birthday lockergrams now for sale. Let us decorate your child's locker for their birthday. We'll decorate the front of your student's locker with a happy birthday sign that includes their name and birthday, as well as some 3D embellishments. And the Marlboro Middle School PTO hopes all our 6th graders, as well as our returning 7th, 8th graders, are enjoying their last week of summer break.
Thank you, Mr. Lewandowski. Ms. Gandhi?
All right, so the first one is for MEF. The MEF invites everybody to join their casino night, taking place on Friday, November 21st from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Eagle Oaks Golf and Country Club. Tickets are on sale now, so please go on their website to support this. And again, remember, every dollar that they make, it goes right back to our school. So I encourage everyone to register and attend. Thanks. And then I have an update. Actually, I don't have an update from the Dugan PTO or the Dugan school, so no updates there.
Thank you. Monmouth County School Board Association and Asher, Mr. Hyatt.
Sure. The next Monmouth County SBA hybrid meeting is on October 7th. And the very timely topic, the focus is AI and K through 12, and they're basically going to focus that the entire meeting. They're going to have a panel with Dr. Tehan, and he's going to moderate that with some external thought leaders, I believe. They'll talk about using AI to enhance instructions, personalize student learning, and improve operational efficiencies. So October 7th, I don't believe we have a meeting then, so I encourage everyone here to sign up. And then Asher Homes. So thank you, Mrs. Kilme, for the update. The floors are gleaming, and we are ready for the 25-26 school year at Asher. A huge shout out to custodial crew led by Mr. Bukowski. I'm going to butcher these. Thank you. Say it again. Pachonsky, Buildings and Grounds, and the Asher secretarial staff, the true dynamic duo, for all their hard work this summer. We can't wait to welcome our Colts into the building for what is sure to be a wonderful year of learning and fun. We had a great new student and parent orientation last week and are gearing up for Asher's kindergarten orientation on September 3rd. So that's September 3rd is kindergarten orientation. The PTA has planned an exciting year with September housing all of the back-to-school fun, including ice pops and snack sale. Parents, be on the lookout for opening year paperwork and make sure to join the PTA to be in the know for all the PTO plans. Also, parents, check your email often and mark your calendars for Picture Day and back-to-school night in September. All details will be shared via email to all the parents as the school year begins, and it's great to be an Asher Colt. So, thank you.
Thank you. New Jersey School Board Association and Memorial. Ms. Mendez.
Oh, yeah. So for Memorial, tryouts for sports begins on 9/15. More info will be provided when the students return to school. After-school clubs will begin the first week in October, and sign-ups will take place towards the end of September. Just finished orientation, and the new designs of Spirit Wear were a big hit. The online Spirit Wear will be launched in the beginning of September. This school year, there will be a few fundraisers for 8th grade graduation events, as well as the usual pop-up stores. They also started collecting donations for the Welcome Back Teachers Breakfast. Thank you, Mr. Pacifico, Ms. Lattis, and Mrs. Chan, I'm sorry. Also for NJSBA, just wanted to let everybody know that there is another delegate assembly that will be coming up in November. They are taking resolutions. Mr. Cohen did send an email to ask us if we had any. I just wanted to make sure, I know I mentioned this once before, what the resolution means. We don't use NJSBA as our policy provider, we use Strauss Esme. So typically, if we put a resolution or propose one, it would be one that if it is voted yes by the majority of people that are actually present at that delegate assembly, the NJSBA reps would then go and advocate for that to become an actual policy that they can implement for NJSBA. I mean, could we still put a resolution forth? Absolutely. It just may not impact us because we use Strauss Esme, but by all means, Mr. Cohen did ask if anybody has any ideas, and so I just wanted to put that out there of what its purpose means and how it would impact Marlboro Township. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to add to that, as the board president or Mr. Hyatt as the board vice president, we're the delegates for this board.
Yeah, well, the delegate assembly, because I'm also the delegate, I could go, which I did last time, and represent us.
Right.
And so we can all, whoever wants to go together, but yes, so it's typically the delegate, and then the other delegate is named. So I know I guess you have you and Chad down, which is fine.
Yeah. Thank you. I know that Dr. Miskowitz is not here. You have her updates. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I don't have the scope update, but I do have Marl's. So, Marlboro Elementary School is excited to invite the new kindergarten students and their parents to the kindergarten orientation, which will be held on September 3rd from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Immediately following the orientation, the students and parents may join in on a play date held on the playground, where the students will be introduced to Marty the Mustang. The Marl PTO's new parent social and first meeting for the 25-26 school year will be held on September 10th at 6:30 p.m. We hope you can all join us. On September 12th, the PTO has planned an ice cream social filled with ice pops and icebreakers. Time to be announced. We look forward to an exciting school year. Enjoy the rest of the summer. Stay safe, happy, and healthy.
Thank you. And if Scope did submit their update to Dr. Miskowitz, we apologize. She wasn't expecting to be out today. We apologize for the update may not be read. Let me go to Ms. Carrero in Robertsville.
I didn't receive an update from Mr. G, but I did attend the new first grade orientation, and I know him and Mrs. Georges and Miss Tongring and the PTO, they were all talking at orientation. They said they were pushing some spirit wear, which they have some really cool things, and then the ice cream social, they just sent out the announcement for the date and time of that. So, and then if you want to join the PTO, go to PT board, and you can sign up there to access volunteer opportunities also.
Thank you. And CPAG and Defino, Ms. Palomo.
I just have one from CPAG. CPAG co-leaders will have a table set up at Marlboro Day on September 7th. Please stop by the table to get information about CPAG and ask any special education questions that you might have. We're looking forward to meeting the community. Continue to check the CPAG website and Facebook page for additional resources and free webinars for you to increase your knowledge. Our meeting dates for the school year will also be posted shortly. CPAG co-leaders are planning on having a table set up at all the back-to-school nights for each of the schools. Please stop by for information and learn how you can be actively involved.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone for sharing your reports. We're up to old business. Any old business? Seeing none, moving on. Any new business?
I have one thing for new business, and I'll make it really short and follow up with, I think, Mr. Caravello. When I received my back-to-school emails from the district, I had some concerns regarding the new breakfast program and the options that we're giving our children. I know we spoke quite in depth about our lunch programs, and I was disheartened to see that the options that are going to be provided include prepackaged sticky buns and cinnamon buns and sugary yogurts and sugary fruit cups, and just really not in line with the healthy options that I felt we worked really hard and Mr. Palmer made really great changes to. So I was hoping to give a little bit of feedback to that breakfast program now that it will be implemented throughout the entire district, and see if there's options that would be more in line with some healthier eating standards, if that's something that, you know, the district is open to.
Okay. So you'll follow up, or you want to respond?
So there are no sugary fruit cups in the breakfast program? But there are no fruit cups in the breakfast program. There's 3 options. I talked to Mr. Palmero today, and he said there's no fruit cups. Okay, but I could double check, but there are no fruit cups in the breakfast program.
It says fruit cups, strawberry yogurt, whole wheat bagel, cinnamon buns, sticky French toast sticks, and you can choose one of the 3, and it comes with the other options as well.
Yeah, so the nature of the breakfast program is a grab and go, so it can't be like a hot gourmet breakfast. It has to be grab and go items for them to not impede instructional time. So when they get in, they have to grab something and go, and then it has to be quick. And unfortunately, sometimes, like we said in June, just because it may say sweet sticky buns doesn't mean it's like what you would get at a regular Dunkin' Donuts. It has to meet nutritional value and nutritional guidelines to be in the food service program. So I believe everything is whole grain, and all the nutritional guidelines are on the website.
Sure, yeah, I looked pretty in depth at them.
Okay.
And I was just hoping, I know a lot of school districts that do implement the program do have options like a cheese stick, a hard-boiled egg, some grab-and-go options that offer a little bit more nutrition for our kids instead of just sugar. And like I said, it's really late. I don't want to get too in depth with it.
I know,
but I could follow up with some examples that other districts are bringing in for their kids. If we're offering this program, and it is going to be something that parents are going to utilize, it would be best that we give our children preservative-free, healthy, some nutritional value to start their day instead of just sugar on top of sugar on top of sugar.
Well, there is some nutritional value in some of the things, and the dairy component is a cheese stick, not anything else.
That's not what it says on the...
Mr. Caravella, I have some additional information, and I agree. We should be offering healthy foods to our children. I do have the September offerings in front of me, so perhaps there was something else that went out to our parents that we need to verify that do not include fruit cups, because everything on this list, it's basically 3 items. They're all whole grain carbs, and then there's a cheese bagel stick. There's also fresh fruit and yogurt, and I know Mr. Palmero said the drink option would be milk. So if there was something that was sent out that stated fruit cup, that was erroneous, and we need to fix that. So
But it could have been fresh fruit in a cup versus a fruit cup that's,
Oh.
you know,
yeah.
U-stick is not on there at all from the email that I received as a parent, so I'm not sure.
I will align what I have here as the breakfast options from Chartwell's to the communication that went out. And
Sure.
if it's contradictory, we'll make sure we fix that.
Thank you.
was it the communication that came out to you, was it as a parent of Dugan, or was it
Or did it come from
Just as a
Chartwell's?
pa-
was it
was
from the
as a parent.
district?
I don't know who the sent, but it was
Okay.
as a parent.
All right, great. Any other new business? All right, we're up to second round of public comments. Do you have anybody?
No.
Anyone want to speak? Okay, thank you. Motion to close public comments since we have no speakers. Ms. Carrero, all in favor? Thank you. Anyone opposed? Public comment is closed. We are going into executive session. It's for a matter of attorney-client privilege and security. We hope it'll take less than 60 minutes. And if it doesn't, we will be there until it's over, but we will not be coming back out into a public session. So for those of you who stayed with us for the evening, thank you so much. And have a great night and enjoy the last week of the summer. And for everyone else, have a great, happy, healthy, and safe school year. Thank you.